All right. Here we go. I think I did it right there. Okay. So, hold on. Doing this.
And we're live. Confirm.
Yeah. Okay, so me and Dandy. Why am I getting an echo back?
You got it playing somewhere.
No.
Or it's echoing through somebody in here.
Testing. I didn't hear it that time, so I'm sharing the Hangout link again. I'm a noob at this, apparently. Okay, so me and Dandy, we went out to the Atchafalaya Basin recently, and we took some observations of the Atchafalaya. It's called the Atchafalaya Swamp Bridge, is what I think the official name of it is, and there's a landing there called the Atchafalaya Basin Bridge boat ramp, and the bayou name is called Little Tansas Bayou. And this bayou right here is the observations we were making is a 7.2 mile observation, and you have land on both sides. One side has a nice like 30-foot levee. It's actually a little higher than that. We have some measurements actually. And then this landing right here, which is the opposite side, Whiskey Bay side, has a 20-foot ramp. At least Google tells you that this is about 20 foot to the top of the ramp right here. So it's a very good playground for the types of stuff that we do as far as looking for the curvature of the earth. And I'm going to let Dandy kind of open up here. So, Dandy.
Okay, go to 6.1.
Soundly, you might present yourself to everyone. Lock the screen here.
Let me do that.
Up the top there, it says
Click your own name.
everyone.
Or yeah, you can do that too. There you go.
All right, Dandy.
Okay, so if you see here on the east side of this, or the right side, where it ends up, it says 75 point some odd miles. I can't see it quite good in my screen, but yeah, 75 or 79.53 miles. That's exactly where the power lines are in most of Soundly's videos. So this isn't like a driving length, but this is a straight shot. If you were going to throw a dart at 0 miles, it's exactly where we're taking the observations at the Atchafalaya Basin boat ramp. So let me back out of this one and go to 6, number 6. So this is the stretch right here from one end to the next. This is exactly
7.2 miles.
What picture is it? Yeah, about 7.2 miles that we're observing from. So on the left side of the screen, that's the Whiskey Bay side. So when we talk about Whiskey Bay, we're talking about the west side. That's at the Atchafalaya Basin Bridge boat ramp. The other side, it's Ramah. So if that's what we're talking about, we'll just call it east and west to make it simple. Go to, let's see which picture this is. I want to see the one from the distance to the center, because there's a crossover bridge. It's basically an emergency. Yeah, number 10. So it's 3.58 miles from the west side to that center point. You'll see that in the pictures coming up. Okay, you can go to 12. Is it 12? And you can see it's 3.65 miles to the east side from that center point. So it's pretty much exactly in the center of this bridge, in the center of our observation. Okay, so let's just thumb through some of them. Soundly, I'm gonna watch your screen.
Yeah, I just went to the next one.
Okay. I'm showing the entire length of this.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is
okay,
the
going to the
side.
next one.
So the 0 point here on the left side is the crossover. So there's like a emergency crossover right in the middle. And this is the Rama side where we were making observations from and to.
Okay, go ahead and click to the next. Yeah, this is a picture of the crossover from one side of the interstate to the other.
And notice that it is curved.
It is a curve. It's definitely a hump. It's high in the center.
Yeah.
How are they
So the water
supposed to
doesn't
use
pool
it if
on
it's
it.
blocked off?
Well, this bridge, there's a lot of wrecks on this bridge, and they use it often. But
How do
they
they get over the wall? Is it movable?
very carefully.
It
No,
opens.
it's not
Its
at all.
wings open.
Oh, I see. Okay, sorry, I was curious.
So again, this is just looking from side to side. Now this is looking at the Rama side, the east side, from overhead, and I'm showing here the. It's hard to see on Google Earth, but you see how it shows the bridges sort of humped like that. That's true life. That's really what it is.
Yeah, the bridge, and I have some pictures I can show later. The bridge on the Rama side actually goes up over the levee right there.
It does it on the Whiskey Bay side too. You'll see that in a minute.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go to the next. Again, just showing the top from the boat ramp side, the Whiskey Bay side or west side. This is what it would look like if you're looking down on the boat ramp.
Yeah,
in the center.
And just to keep an eye on here, this is all level.
Yeah, the top of the bridge is totally flat.
It's all the same height.
Yeah, this doesn't go up or anything.
Yeah, observation from the other side where everything is same exact height.
Right, so that's saying from the water to the top of that boat ramp is 20 feet. I wouldn't argue. I don't know for a fact. I'm not going to stand by it, but I'm not going to argue with it either.
Well, the water is actually it's actually the gauge height for the water varies between like 7 feet and like 12 feet. And
I believe that. You'll see that on the pylons in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, go to the next frame. Again, just
so this
some
is
context. Oh, here. Right, this is the Whiskey Bay side. Okay, we're looking west right now. So it's flat all the way up to that point where you see the bridges going up. You'll see that in our, this is street view, right? So everybody can see this, but you're going to see this in our observations from the other side. We're going to be able to see that. Okay, go to the next slide. The point of this is to show, this is the type of observation that we're doing. So there's something common with pool or billiard players where they're checking the straightness of their pool cue. I don't play, so I don't know, but I did this as a kid. And you can see in this picture right here that it is bowed. You can't see that if you're looking at it from any angle except for this one. This is why you see them doing it. And this is the type of observation that we're doing right here. So constantly hearing, you're the only person who's found this type of curve or seen this kind of curve. Well, we're the only people who are taking these types of observations. You know, you might have something that's like a really long pier, you know, going out and stretching out into the water. And I've looked at some of these piers online. It's like one of the longest ones in the world is like 1.5 miles, 1.6 miles long. It's just not long enough to see. And there's not that many people that are looking at things like this. There's not that many places that I know of on Earth that have these, that we can do this pool cue type of observation to look for the curve. Okay, go to the next one. We're going to see the difference between a warped and a straight one. So, okay, see, so you can see this is what it looks like when it's straight and the difference when it's warped. And the only point of putting that in is this is the type of observation that we're doing. Okay, I hope that's clear. Okay, you can go to the next one. The next frame, let me see where I'm at, because I have these.
This is from the Whiskey Bay side.
Okay, so yes, the first shot, is that the first one? Yes. Okay, yeah. This was early in the morning. Not early, I would say probably what, 9:30?
Yeah.
Somewhere in between 9 and 9:30. And I put these two shots in here. This is the first observation that we took. So the sun is not directly overhead. We're actually looking slightly up sun.
Yeah.
Now go to the very next frame. And you'll see that on the other side, if you zoom in, you can see the grass. You can see the green grass where you couldn't in the other one. So this is, I think it's the next one.
Yeah, must
The
be.
point is that the point is you can see further. Yes, because you went back like an hour and maybe an hour and a half later.
Yeah.
And the visibility was that much better. So the point of
I think they might
putting
have.
those two side by side.
Right. I think this was actually the first observation, right? And this is the second one.
Yes, I have them out of order.
Yeah.
Yep. The first one is later in the day.
I think this one's earlier in the day, right? We had the haze earlier, right? Wasn't that
Yeah,
true?
the haze was earlier. Yeah. The second of those is the earlier one.
Most of these observations were taken over like the course of 2 hours, but there was definitely a change in the atmosphere during those 2 hours. So we got rid of some of the haze and was able to make some clear observations.
You can even tell by the reflection on the water from side to side. Okay, we can go to, man, I hate to really get out of this since we're already here, but let me jump on to something. Go to number 1. So just hold that thought, and we'll get back to that in just a second. But I just want to make a quick point here. Anthony and Ranty, whatever, they were going on and on about this tall tower. This is Lake Pontchartrain. The tower to the left is going to be one of basically the very last tower.
Yeah, that one's
observations made by Soundly.
That one's actually the oddball. That one's the one that's on land and it's shaped slightly different than the other ones.
That's true. Yes, it is. But this is the one that connects to the large tower.
Yeah.
So go ahead and let's go to the next. Right. So here's your towers. The one to the far left is the one that's pretty much the same as all. This is the one that's the exact same as all the ones that Soundly has. Then you have this kind of oddball one here in the middle. Then that one connects to the large tower, and then you have another large tower all the way to the right. So you have 2 large towers, and in most of Soundly's, observations, these 2 towers are sort of stacked. So it looks like you're seeing doubles. Like there's a ton of these little. I actually was looking at those the other day, and if you look at them, if you look at Soundly's observations, you're actually seeing 1 tower, but it's actually 2, one behind the other. Just thought that was important to note. But the type of Anthony he was going on and on. Anthony Riley, that is, was going on and on about how this tower, it should connect somewhere up into where he was saying it should connect is actually like 6 miles further back into the water. So I don't know, maybe 30 pylons before this one. He was saying it's supposed to. If you look at it from the side, it makes perfect sense. And Anthony he didn't see this, so he couldn't figure that out in his mind. It just didn't look right. Okay, you can just go on to the next one. I'm just showing different perspectives of the same thing.
I'd like to just make a comment on this. Is that Dante actually showed me this. This is actually a street view in the water. So if you go into Google Earth or to Maps, then you can drag your street view person into the water right here and see this for yourself.
Yeah, I just picked some of the frames that showed this, a small tower connecting to that tall tower. He just had a lot of trouble seeing that in his head, and that's the point of showing this, is that it's not some ridiculous, it's not as ridiculous as it seems when you look at it from a different perspective. So that's how that's being done. Okay, this is an interesting picture. See the tower? Zoom in on the nest in the middle. That's the nest that you've captured in almost all your observations, probably all of them. And I've counted 2 pylons. Okay, now back out.
There's also
so you have these lines.
There's also a nest on this one right here.
Okay, so there's 2 nests. So if you look at the wires and the pylons that go off to the bottom left of the screen, imagine an X, right? Those are the ones that he's looking down in all of his observations.
Yeah.
The ones that are going off to the bottom right are the ones that first clown tried to debunk you. Those are the ones that he was looking at Google Earth on. Okay, so I'm just showing this as a, this is where they connect.
Dr. Hack.
There's definitely two sets of pylons. Okay, I didn't know his name, but the one that goes from the middle to the top right, that goes back toward the interstate, and there's two more pylons before you get to the interstate, which is where Soundly is taking his observations from in all of his videos.
Yeah.
So that's just to give some perspective, some clue as to where this is taking. Okay, that might be go ahead and go to the next one. That might be the last.
Yeah, that's the last.
Okay, and then back to this. This is just showing how far away his observations are to the Atchafalaya Basin.
Yeah, what I think one of the important points to point out here is that that the electromagnetic soup that's in Lake Pontchartrain has no effect on the Atchafalaya Basin. So
right, it's 80 miles away. Let's go to the first electromagnetic soup picture. That let's start with. You want to start with yours or mine? Because we both took observations from two different cameras. I had a Canon M50. It's just a video camera that takes 1080p. And Soundly had the Nikon Flat Earth Model 900.
Which one's the good one, Dandy?
It's called the Plane 900.
Of mine, probably number 60.
60, okay. I knew there was one we were talking about.
Yeah, so this is from the east side looking west toward Whiskey Bay. Give it a second. None of this has been edited at all. So you're seeing, yeah, it's pretty clear from this picture. In the very back at the very top, you'll see this a lot clearer in a second when we look at the P900. But you can see the hump in the very back. That's the road going up over the bridge.
Yeah. And just to kind of remind everybody about the pictures we saw earlier, all that entire part of the bridge is flat, and it's flat and level until it gets to the rise, and so the part where we're seeing it curve is clearly based on Earth curvature. And the other thing to point out about this observation is that the bridge, which we showed on Google Earth, that bridge that you're seeing in the middle there, the emergency bridge you're seeing in the middle there, is the halfway mark. So this is another really good indicator of how, as things move off in the distance, how perspective starts compressing the curve and making it more visible.
Right, because beyond the curve, or excuse me, beyond the center point, that bridge, that crossover, it looks like you're only looking at maybe a quarter of a mile beyond that. That's another 3.5 miles.
Right.
That you're looking at. Look, traffic, it looks like it's gridlocked. Traffic's doing 70 miles an hour. But here it looks like it's gridlocked because you're looking at, for every 100 feet they travel, they're only moving a couple of pixels in the screen because of the way that we're looking at this. It's a very odd perspective that not many people, unless you have binoculars or something, you don't see that far. You don't see this much. Like that pool cue. Imagine that pool cue being 100 miles long. Okay, so it's pretty obvious. We can move to we can go to the P900 footage. Let's go to your stuff. But I have a lot of stuff in here, and that was just the best one. That was just the one that had the best video.
So I'm actually kind of have some stuff set up here to kind of go through like where I got my numbers from. This is the top of the ramp on the Whiskey Bay side. Google tells me it's 21 feet. So, that's the best measurement I have for it. I would like to come up with a way to maybe take a more precise measurement there. I'm not sure how to do it though, quite honestly.
Does it give you a height for the bottom of the ramp?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to measure that up. I guess I could do an angle measurement there. I haven't done it though. but the water level not zero. It's not at sea level. So that's one of the things that's important to remember. This is inland, so the water level varies. There's gauges that actually tell you the water level around the area, but there's none on this bayou for some reason, which we'll see here in a second. So this is the Rama side again. This is the exact point where my next observation is, this picture, 741.jpg. So this is the exact GPS coordinates based on P900's GPS sensor. And here's the location, the time it was taken, GPS coordinates. Here's the picture. And you can make out over here, this is actually, I actually went to the other side and took a picture of this scene so you could make out what all these vehicles are. There's a truck here, and a white truck parked in front of them, and another white truck over here. These are people in boats by the landing, or close to the landing side. They're actually not. They're probably a couple hundred feet away from the landing. So moving on. USGS has these different gauges that show you the water height, and it's something, if you want to actually make some calculations on these, do any type of analysis, you need to know what this gauge height is, because that effectively changes the observer height as an estimate. You can do it that way, just subtract from the observer height. But on July 3rd, it was about 6.2 or 16.2 at Pelba Lake, which is near here, but not the same area. And if you look at if you actually look at the heights, like the historical elevation height for Google versus now, you can kind of get some idea about where it is. But I mean, I don't know the exact height of the water, but it's not zero. It's probably more like 10 or 11 feet. And that's just estimating or guessing based on the gauges that are around the area. Obviously, the further north you go, typically the higher the gauge values are. And this is also the same data, but just in a table form. 16.2 at 10 o'clock, 16.19 at 10:30, and the observation was taken at 10:17. So if you want to figure out obstruction heights and what it should look like, I think that's all the data you would need right there.
So it's something I'm just noticing, and I find it kind of interesting. So if you look
my tripod's also 4 foot tall, so you have to take that into calculation as well.
Right.
Go ahead.
So looking at that image that you have up, on the right bridge, there's that like white strip along the length of the bridge.
Yes.
As kind of just a mental exercise, imagine the very top edge of that is where the water's surface is. And if you were to, say, project a horizon across, right? Like imagine the water, you have a flood and the water rises up to that level. You can, just looking at that line, you can immediately tell where the horizon would be, because it's the point at which it goes from curving up, or from going up to curving down.
Right.
So I just thought it was kind of interesting to point out.
You're gonna see that in a second. We're gonna show the water line, because there's an old water line on those pylons, and it curves around. When it gets down to the base, we've got some great observations there.
Right, you can actually see that. Here's the actual picture.
I like the white one because you clearly show that the direction changed there, where it's going up to a vanishing point, and then now it's going down to a vanishing point at the very end.
So
pick any line on the side of that bridge, and they all do the same thing.
So one of the things that I love about this location, why I think it's probably one of the best pictures that we have so far, including the transmission lines, is because you have clear evidence of where an old water line was. And this, whenever we had high water, this is where the old water line was. So the old water line is curving. So therefore, the water itself was curving. And that right there is like the best evidence you can have. Number two, it's a bayou. The water doesn't move. I mean, the water barely moves. It's not a river. You know, it's not a lake where you have big. This is pretty much isolated from wind. I mean, you do have wind blowing across the top of it, but it's not like the lake. And I mean, it's as level water as you're going to get. Basically, if you're skiing on that, you'd feel like you're skiing on glass. It's really good spot for making observations. I think the curve is clear as day. Can't really be debated.
I concur.
Yeah, so one of the other things to point out is that whenever you're looking at the gauge measurements, which is something that we tend to not really think about, us specifically, the globe curve measuring people. But whenever you're looking at gauge measurements, especially in inland, it's based on some type of vertical datum. And in the case of our measurements, the zero is actually sea level, right? So whenever you have a gauge measurement of 11 feet or 16.2 feet, like I showed earlier, whenever you see this gauge measurement of 16.2 feet, then that's 16.2 feet from sea level, which is the default. But there are other times, I wish there was an easier way to do a search on this thing. I can never figure it out. But there are other times when, and Lake Tahoe is a prime example, yeah, so there's Lake Tahoe is a prime example where what they call the vertical datum or the gauge datum starts off at 6,220 feet. So you have to take whatever the gauge height is and you have to add 6,220 feet to it. And when you start talking about Lake Tahoe, 6,220 feet actually is a significant difference as far as the ultimate calculation. It matters. You have to take that into account for Lake Tahoe. That's what I'm saying. So I think that's something just to be aware of, so that when people take more measurements, because I really want someone in the Lake Tahoe area, maybe Mick, if he's listening, to go out there. Of course, Mick would know to do this already, but for anybody else that is taking these measurements, just be sure to know what your gauge, like what your gauge is calibrated to, what height your gauge is calibrated to, so that you know what your gauge height is, and take that into account whenever you're making calculations. Yeah, so I guess that's really everything I wanted to discuss about the Atchafalaya stuff, and I really just wanted to open it up for anybody to ask questions. And if you guys want more information about any of the observations, let me know, or if you're interested in any of the observations that me and Dandy are planning on doing in the future. In October, we're planning on making some more observations from the backside, just like the ones you see in the street view, but with the P900. So I'm talking about the transmission lines, of course.
Soundly, one of the things that people often claim is that those towers are way too close together, and they think from the images they're about 20 feet apart. I've dropped a link in the Hangout chat to that very trippy demonstration of the effect of the zoom, the focal length for the camera. You might want to bring that up in your browser, and we'll take a look at that. So here is a concrete block that is filmed at an increasing distance away, but the zoom is increased as the cameraman moves away from the block. And I don't know if you can pause that by clicking on it like you can do in Facebook. Possibly not.
I can't.
But we can see that the background there either looks very, very distant away, or it looks very, very close. And this is all the effect of the focal length of the camera, or in other words, the zoom. This is why the towers actually look so very close together in those zoomed up images. In fact, those towers, if you measure the distance between them in Google Earth, they're approximately 950 feet apart. even though if you look at the concrete blocks that each one of those towers are standing on, it actually looks like they're only the same distance apart as the concrete block that they're standing on. It's just a trick of the zoom. I just thought I'd explain that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
and
a good image. I like that.
and with the towers, which I can bring up as well here in a second, but with the towers, I mean, you can look at Google Earth and get a very rough estimate that says that it's 0.18 miles apart. I mean, just knowing that, right? Just knowing that they're 0.18 miles apart, and then seeing them stacked on top of each other should give you a really good indication of how, basically they're being compressed the same way that this is. The perspective is all being squished together into a few pixels. Our perspective is squishing them all.
It's like when you're taking a picture of something that something I do all the time with 3D models is you set up reference planes. So like if you're going to model a car, you take a picture of a car. Well, it's important how close you are to the car because of this effect. It's better to back up as far as you can, because the further you are and the closer you zoom in, the more of an orthographic view you'll get, basically.
Right.
And that's what this shows. It's a good demo. I like that.
Yeah, it's a good one.
A good one is the traffic we just looked at. That's what I was trying to describe.
Yeah, that's
the traffic. It looks like it's almost sitting still. It looks like it's, bumper to bumper, barely moving. And that traffic's zooming on.
Yeah, going 70.
In fact, when we were first looking at it from up above, I was like, oh man, it looks like there's a traffic jam. So it's going to be really bad going home. And it's just not. It's hauling ass. It's just a weird thing to look at. Like, I'm not used to looking at it. I look at shit all the time. I've been recording stuff. I've been video recording since I was like 10. I'm 31 now. I video record everything. I have a telescope. I look at weird stuff all the time, and I've never looked at anything like this. So I'll admit it is strange to look at, and it's hard to wrap your mind around like what exactly you're seeing. But when you look at it from all these different perspectives, like the street view, you look at it from this perspective. You look at the lines on the bottom, down near the water. I mean, any line you look at on the sides of these bridges, you see that it's pretty flat up till about the, it's even before that, but I'll give them that much. Like, it's right after that middle point, it starts to curve. You're seeing several miles and stacked, really, really closely together. And if you look from the other side, looking back the same way, if that bridge really was curved down like that, the way that it shows, it would look like that. It would look like the opposite effect from the other side, and it doesn't. Yeah, it looks flat as hell until you get out to the middle, and then the other side curves down.
Yeah, that's actually.
So which is it? Is it I think that these two observations, taken from Whiskey Bay, looking east, and from Rama looking west, those two shots right there they basically back each other up.
Yeah. The thing I like about this is probably my favorite shot, but the thing I like about the other direction, let me find one. Where's the Rama? Here we go. We're getting there. This one's too short and blurred.
I was trying to help you out, but my drive doesn't even work. I don't know what's going on. My PC just isn't wanting to participate tonight.
Yeah, okay, so here's a good shot. So this is looking from the Whiskey Bay side where the boat ramp is, and towards the Rama side, which is where the levee is. And the levee is where we took the other observation. And the thing I'd like to point out is that the roadway, even though it looks like, here the roadway is curving down, the roadway actually physically curves up to go over that levee. So we're actually watching the curvature of the earth take the bridge down while it's also trying to curve up to go over the levee. So it's actually kind of hard to see, but there's the road right there. It kind of goes up right here at the end. It's behind that pillar, unfortunately. But the road goes up and over the levee right here.
It's easier to see from the Rama side looking, I think, one, because of the sun's location. It wasn't straight up above. This is a good picture right here of the, you can clearly see the, yeah, right there. Look at the base.
I'm trying to pause it.
You can see where the water is. I know we were having a lot of, like, just because of the differences in the lighting, and you had it in auto at the time. So all of this is being, like, overexposed while the base of the pylons are being underexposed. But this is one of the only shots that we have.
Even the shadows.
It's so, yeah, even the shadow you can see, but you can see the water line. It goes all the way across. And if we're getting a boat to go to Lake Pontchartrain, and somebody wants to, you know, they really want to know, man, we'll go across this too. Only take a few minutes. It's only 7 miles, but we can go straight across, and
I think it has some good
and measure every we can measure every 10th pylon if we need to.
There's a really good shot.
Soundly, I just had a thought, you know, because the flat earthers will use all sorts of excuses to try and explain away why we're seeing a curve. And a thought I just had is that in some of your shots, you might want to try turning your camera upside down and also filming, so that we can see that the curve is always the same.
Yeah.
Regardless.
That would definitely be smart. Yeah, I like that idea.
That's what I like using with balloon footage, because they'll say, oh, the lens is making it curve down. It's like, but it shows curve the same way even when the camera's upside down, so I don't get it.
Magic.
Well, you've seen 2 different cameras, and everything on my channel pretty much has been recorded with the Canon. Nothing's curving when it shouldn't. And
right. So we actually have 3 cameras now. Well, actually 4. And I'll show you what I mean by 4. But we have I have a Canon Rebel T5. He has the Canon what is that? A camera called?
M50.
What is it?
M50.
M50. And then we have the P900, of course, the Holy Idol. And then we also have this shot, which I took from my camera phone. Do they still call them camera phones these days? Smartphone. If it'll play.
Well, if you're recording your screen, that's not gonna because it's filtering through the lens of the P900, so I can already debunk that straight off. But I will say
the reason I record the screen is because if I record the screen with my smartphone, it's pretty damn hard to CGI everything like that. You know, like if they want to talk about CGI, they're going to have to explain that one because it's not easy. What the hell?
Well, if you can CGI the P900 footage, you can CGI the footage of you looking through your eyes with your phone.
Stop it,
P900 electromagnetic.
You're channeling Anthony.
Well, look,
let's
go back to the reason that we came here in the first place. I thought about these because I cross these bridges all the time. I go to New Orleans. I'm from Lafayette, which is kind of not in the middle of the state, but in the middle of the bottom of the state. And I would consider New Orleans kind of closer to the east side of Louisiana. Lake Charles would be like more toward the west side. So I'm kind of in the middle of that. And to get to Baton Rouge, where half my family lives, and then fun stuff in New Orleans, I got to travel across these bridges every time. And when I saw Soundly's footage of the causeway, I'm like, I wonder how long of a bridge it would need to be in order to observe curvature. And so I went out about, 3 weeks ago. I have a 5-inch telescope, a Celestron, and I had some new eyepieces. And I went to the Whiskey Bay side and I took a picture with, I had a note too. I still have the pictures. We can show those too at some point. But I took pictures through the eyepiece because I could see curvature, and that's what kind of excited Soundly to get down there and take some better ones. So that's when we met up a few weeks later.
Yeah, so this is me recording it on the P900 and me filming the view screen just so we all know that it's live. Yeah.
Now you need a GoPro head cam to make sure that you're actually recording a P900 screen.
Uh-huh.
Do what Reds does and have like 12 cameras to show the same scene.
I need a GoPro recording me recording the P900.
Well, I was not really joking when I told you I'm going to take my Fujifilm out there. I have a telescope lens for that, and that's film, and I take on film. I have pack cameras, I have Polaroids, I have some really old cameras from the 50s. They're like 8mm. I'm sure I could figure something out on that and just, you know, literally record myself taking observations with the Fujifilm and live streaming to Walgreens and having them do the 1 hour development and then have them open them up and show them off. Wait, I'm not touching them. That, I don't know. That really, I don't think that would be good enough.
Probably not.
They'll come up with something else. But it's just strange that everywhere we've gone to look at this kind of thing, where we've thought of doing this kind of observation, we've noticed that it curves down.
So these are taken back to back within like however long it took me to sprint down the levee. So yeah, I was taking this picture, I sprinted down the levee, lining it up, and took this video right after. And so these are the two different heights. So it'd be very interesting to do some calculations on this, because in this one, you can see the just the top of the boat ramp here.
This is closer to the height that you're seeing from the Whiskey Bay side.
Yeah. Right. This is about the same height as the boat ramp, I would say.
Were these taken from a boat, Soundly?
These were from the shore. There's like a little road. Actually, let me go back over here and show you.
Yeah, you have a shot early. Remember, whenever we got there, we had to move our vehicles. But
Sure,
you took a picture.
I have some wide angles actually. Let me find one.
Yeah, show them the picture from. It's in the same folder. It's some of the first ones after we. It's after the pictures of the.
Let me do a little binary search here. This is pretty sure this is a wide angle here. There we go. There we go. Okay.
So from water level.
All right. So this is the boat ramp side on the Whiskey Bay side. I'm walking up the boat ramp here. This is actually the shot I was telling you about earlier, where I'm taking a shot of what we were seeing from the other side. So there's that white truck and the two black trucks. There was another white truck over here, which is already left.
And there's your car on the left side.
Yeah. Yeah. Trying to find the other wide angle here.
I saw a picture with some birds But it was when we first got there, you were taking pictures of the water on. It's going to be after Whiskey Bay. It was when we first got to Rama. You're coming up to it. Keep going.
Here we go. We're getting closer now. Actually, whenever I crossed over, I saw them.
Wait. Too far. It's when we first got there. Because we had to, remember, we weren't on the road. There you go. We're under the bridge now. Yep, we're near the birds. Okay.
All right, that's in the car.
Go further. Go down like 5. Go to the next one. Damn, I swear there was another one. Because you were taking a picture of where we were parked.
Yeah, this is all from the levee height here.
Yeah, I started down near the water because I wanted to be as close.
Look, I have some at the very end right here. Oh, these are some other observations. Ignore those. That's another day. All right, so there's the backside of the levee, and that's where we were. Where that truck is right there.
There it is. That's the one. Mm-hmm.
Right. Where this truck
that's
was.
The bottom of the levee where we started.
Right. So the lower level shot, Daza, to answer your question, was taken from like this mud right here. It's dirt path, and the higher level shot's taken from the top of this levee right here.
Right.
And I wish, I know I have a video. I took so many videos, but I know I have a video for sure filming just the general area, showing that curve in the bridge on the Rama side.
One of the tools that I've used for some of my videos filming the cruise ships, just to work out the height above the water level of my camera, is to use some conduit, some electrical conduit that you run cables through. So you can cut it into lengths easily and join it together, even if you use a piece of wooden dowel to join lengths. And I've used some black insulation tape to mark 1 foot increments along the length of the conduit. So I don't know if that would be helpful for you if you want to measure things like the height of the bridge, where you can just stack lengths of the conduit together and use that to measure it easily.
You mean to actually physically measure it, or are you talking about a relative measurement?
No, to actually physically measure it. The other thing that I do using that is to work out the height of my camera above the water level. Is I take the conduit down to the edge of the water level, put it in the water, and then the line between the camera and the visible horizon is going to be pretty close to 0 degrees, of course, at that altitude. So then I can work out using the marks of the 1 foot increments on the conduit of how high my camera is above the water level.
That's it.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. That would be a good one.
I'd like to bob from the top. It would be pretty insane to do, because there's not much shoulder on that road.
Yeah, that's the reoccurring problem we have with these roads, is there's not much room for not dying. But we can definitely figure something out. Definitely. If we can get if we know the elevation is 20 feet at the top of the ramp, if we assume that Google's right and it's 20 feet right there, then we should be able to work out some trig just to figure out the height of the bridge, right? I mean, we can measure to the pillar. So yeah, we could definitely figure that out. Well, if anybody doesn't have any more to ask about that one, there's one thing I wanted to address real quick about some of Ranty Rant's claims about the causeway. And Let me see if I can jump right to it here.
I'm not sure what he was trying to get at with the.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the raw video of what he was talking about. It's either this one or this one. It's this one or this one. Probably this one. Yeah. Okay. 2 minutes. Let's just skip to it. I was hand holding this. This is actually a little too high. Yeah, this is actually a pretty good shot. So there's a marine hump right here. You can see it plainly on Google Earth. There's a marine hump right here. And there is a bascule right here. And this between this bascule, and this is another example of how perspective just seems to fool them for some reason. But between this bascule right here and this marine hump, this is a long ass ways. It's like miles. And it's perfectly straight for those miles and perfectly level for those miles. So this is clearly the curvature. I mean, we're still seeing the curvature here. Regardless, I can basically cut the picture off right here and still show that there's curvature right here. You know, so it's really a moot point. I don't even understand what he was trying to get at. I think he thinks that this is all part of the bascule somehow, going down on the other side of the bascule or something. I don't really understand what he was after, quite honestly. I think he was just grasping for straws. But it's very clear that this piece right here is curving, and Grandpa Soundly and Flat Earth Tears 2 already debunked this way back in like May 28th, I think. So Grandpa Soundly yesterday went back in time, made that debunk video to debunk Ranty for yesterday. The other point I'd like to bring up though is after that video. Actually, this might be the video he's trying to use. Let's see. There's one. I want to go to the one that has the actual bascule. It's higher up. Yeah, here we go. Here's the elevations higher up in this one. So mute that. So this is a closer shot. This has got some digital zoom in it. I usually just avoid the digital zoom since it's really not that much of a help, quite honestly. It just tends to blur everything. But whenever I zoom out here, yeah, okay. So this is the arm of the bascule, right? So this shot was taken higher up. This was taken on the levee. I don't know the exact height. It was probably like, 15 feet or something like that, 20 feet. But it's a much clearer shot of this piece right here. And you can tell that the bascule is over here. This is the up for the bascule, and the cars go over and behind it. You can't see them. And this is the marine hump here. And again, I mean, maybe it'd be more impressive if I went and showed it in Google Earth, but it's very, very long ways. And actually, let me, instead of going to Google Earth, I'll just show you that I can't type. And let's go to my channel. I should really put all the Grandpa Soundly stuff into one place. It is.
Oh,
All right. Well, let's just watch Grandpa.
oh,
do it.
goodness. This Grandpa.
Okay, hush. So this is the video I made like back in May, and let's see, I'm going through the huts. Okay, here it is right here. I think I actually do it a little bit later, but here, this is the red line right here is the piece that we're actually looking at. This whole red line that we're still seeing right here is all part of that part of the bridge that's curving. It's a long ways, very long ways. And I think we skip ahead to that here in a second. Here, let me see. I don't know what happened.
What was he trying to say? I didn't even understand what he was.
Okay, here we go. Here, I'm doing it right here. He was trying to say, let's go back to the, trying to say that the bascule right here, right? That we're actually seeing the backside of that right here. Like, that's what he was claiming. He was claiming that this is the backside of this bascule. And so that's why it looks like it's curving down. I think that's what he was saying. I honestly don't know because he wasn't really being coherent, but yeah, I think that's what he was saying. But the reality is that part, so that part right there is curving, obviously. And if we actually look at that, if we actually evaluate that, see what Grandpa Sally has to say.
Or not. Thankfully, we have this wonderful new invention called the internet. They're using it so you would think they would know what the hell it is. We got this great thing in this tool, it's called Google Earth.
So there's this is the, that is the marine hump. The small bridge is the marine hump.
Talk about this earlier.
And now we're going to go through a very long stretch of roadway here.
Do you want to go to theatre mode on that, Soundly?
That's completely straight. We're going through a very long stretch of roadway that's completely straight right there, all the way to the bascule. So there's the bascule. And that's the whole point. So that piece of bridge right there is the normal deck height, which is there's a 15-foot clearance. I don't know the exact height of the deck, but it's all flat. And anyway, besides that, I mean, if we actually go back over here.
Just while you're on that one, Soundly.
Oh, sorry. Crap. I didn't mean to close it. I mean, reopen it.
I've just sent you an enhanced image of that same shot that you had there. I grabbed a screenshot on the fly and enhanced it, and it's really brought out the clarity on that image. I sent you that in Skype.
Okay, I gotta stop screen sharing for a second. Hold on.
It's getting late for me, so I'm gonna run.
Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thanks for the invite.
See you, Kara.
Where did it go?
I forgot to ask her about the model.
Yeah, me and Kara are supposed to do a hangout, and I've failed to make that happen. It's my fault.
Well, I'd like to just start. I would like to make a video modeling this thing. Just putting in the numbers, you know, whatever it needs to be. Showing it go from flat to a curve. If you put the right numbers in, if they match up to the Earth's curve. I just want to see that. I think a lot of people want to see that. I don't think they just want to see what some person who believes that the Earth is round is saying it's supposed to be. I think all the work needs to be shown.
I mean, that's really what Caro's model is. I mean, to me, it's like that. Okay, there is the math right there. I mean, that's what the CAD program is doing. It's actually drawing the math to a screen. And the people that we're trying to influence aren't going to do actual math. They're not going to do a trick. And the reason I believe that is because I made a bunch of videos doing math in the very beginning of my channel, and they don't care.
They don't do math.
No. Yeah, there you go. So these are all the green tenth of a mile markers, and they're all just blurred together because there's no gap between them anymore. And that's why that's why you see such a large distance compressed into small.
Oh, they really are. They are Okay, so they are a tenth of a mile. I heard him talking about that. He was saying more generally on the interstates, because they're every mile on the interstates, but the causeway is something special.
Yeah, the causeway is
the causeway.
every 10th of a mile. I think the reason they do that is because there's no emergency lane on the causeway. There's only those crossovers. And so whenever there's a wreck, the cops need to know exactly where it's at.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much it. I don't have much else to say, honestly. If anybody has any ideas, suggestions, questions, whatever, please let us know, because we're going to be making a bunch of observations come this fall and this winter. We are arranging a boat, so we are going to have a boat to go out to Pontchartrain and take some observations from the backside of the transmission lines, and also take there's some other transmission lines closer to the causeway that we want to look at. The causeway, of course, we want to look at. Coming onto the causeway side on would be a nice shot. Basically getting the causeway to where it's essentially sitting on top of the horizon at a 3 mile mark, or however far the horizon would be for whatever our observation height is in the boat, which I'm thinking it's going to be like 6 or 7 feet, maybe 7, 8 feet. My tripod plus 2 or 3 feet out of the water in the boat. Yeah, so try and put the causeway directly on the horizon and perpendicular to, and us be perpendicular to it, so that we can actually watch both ends of the causeway fall over to the horizon. I think that would be a nice observation. Maybe not an easy one, but possible, I think. And if anybody else has any other ideas, or if they want to see anything else on the on Lake Pontchartrain or the basin or anything around Lafayette, New Orleans, Baton Rouge area, Hammond, Metairie.
Yeah, if there's anything else like this,
Right.
I mean, this is all we could think of. I think there's, like what Soundly just said, but there's some railroad tracks too in that same area that I think might be a pretty interesting place to give a shot. But
yeah, there's some
the
railroad.
weather might need to be better for that.
There's some railroad tracks on the east side of Pontchartrain. Where's maps? So it's right here. So this railroad track right here, you can see it right here. It's straight for, I think, like 6 miles. So in an ideal setting, we'd be able to like set up right here. We'd be able to set up like right here, and actually take a picture of the train crossing. In which case, I think you might actually catch the curve in the train if it's a long enough one. So that's another place that I'd like to set up and see. That one I can take from land, so I don't have to have a boat for that one. I just have to plan it and go do it. It's actually straight for a while here, and then it starts curving along the shore. But
yeah, the boat stuff needs to be perfect.
Yeah, the boat stuff. Yeah, exactly. Here's actually a boat right here to get some context. So there's a boat. Yeah, kind of gives you an idea how big this thing is. It's huge. And there's also another. I took some more observations actually, and I'd like to go back and take them again. There's a garage right here. This roof, which I've taken observations from basically this wall right here down the causeway. So a little bit higher observations, see a little bit further. I've been trying to get all the huts in line because there's more huts past the whatever they're called. I don't know what they are exactly. I think they're some type of utility access, but these little huts are all the way across. I mean, they're basically all the way across this bridge. So the more huts I can get lined up, I think the cooler the shot will be. And there's some past the bascule too. But yeah, what I'm aiming for is on a clear day, being able to see the pylons shrinking under the huts, while the huts themselves relatively don't shrink near as much. Yeah, that's the type of stuff I'd like to do. Anyway, we're aiming to do it eventually throughout the year.
Are you able to incorporate using a laser in any of your observations, say along the side of the bridge or maybe through the pylons?
I don't own one, Dabs, but I mean, that's something we could definitely try to do. I mean, it's not like we couldn't plan something like that.
Mm.
One of the interesting things that is that from about the halfway mark, just in the halfway mark, first of all, in the halfway mark of the causeway, you see water on both sides. Like if you look towards both directions of the bridge, there's nothing but water. Like you can't see anything else. But that only lasts for like 30 seconds to a minute or something. It's like a perfect spot right in the middle. And then after that, once you get just past the halfway mark, you start seeing New Orleans come up over the horizon. And especially during the winter or during the fall, whenever it's really clear, we'll be able to get some really cool shots, especially if I have a driver. You know, if there's two of us doing it, we'll definitely be able to get some really awesome shots. Because one guy could drive, and the other guy could just, you know, aim the camera on a tripod, basically. But yeah, the super dome comes in. You start seeing the super dome come up over the horizon. So that's actually a really cool shot to get. Not sure what else.
In the chat, Fud Munton made a good point. The P900, you can screw a lens filter onto it. It's a 67mm lens. And he suggested a yellow filter, also a UV filter, will help with the shots across the water. He's suggesting that a yellow filter may just bring out the contrast a bit. You can also stack those filters. You can screw one on top of another.
Yeah, I'd like to have a. I've heard that the UV filter is supposed to be able to block out haze, right? But I have a UV filter on my Canon, and I guess I just have a crappy UV filter because it doesn't do anything. But I've seen some people use a polarized filter, and that one actually seems to work to block out stuff. I don't know if any of you guys have experimented with it. Let me know what you think about polarized filters as well. I need to actually, I guess, open up the live chat. I'll be right back.
I have to say those towers are probably my favorite because you've got the structure of the tower and they're all identical, and you can see each point on those towers are all curving down. It doesn't matter where you look, whether you're looking at the base, even the concrete blocks that they're sitting on. You've got the structure of the tower and you see that lovely curvature all the way across.
I think my favorite shot is, I think it's called like Nikon P900 2 out of 3. It's the rolling shot. He starts on the right-hand side, and he's driving. It's the same shot, never cuts, and he goes to the left side, and it's curving down on both sides.
Yeah.
I saw somebody trying to do the same thing with some little action figures. But it only works if you look at them from one side, because it's showing how they would sort of curve in one direction. But if you look at it from the other side, you can only see the first army man.
Yep, and the ones that I've seen of that sort of setup, I'm pretty sure that they've actually curved the line laterally. They're not actually in a straight line.
No, they're not. They're not in a straight line. They move them off to the side. They move them further and further to the left or further and further to the right. But as soon as you move the camera, the illusion is broken.
Yeah. And we've got it from both sides here.
Got it from both sides, all in one shot, all in one take. You can't. That's what I was asking Soundly. I'm like, I'm trying to think of a way to, not to fake it, but how would they build these to make them appear that way? Like, let's just pretend for a second that the Earth is flat. How could they build those pylons to make them appear the way that they do? Like, what is the geometry involved in something like that? I can't.
There isn't one.
I can't figure it out.
Well, the problem is, of course, when we go over the other side and film looking back the other way, then that geometry is only going to work one way anyway.
That's right. That's the point, is when you go to the other side, it looks exactly the same way. That's why I like this bridge shot the best, because you look from one direction and the bridge looks relatively flat for the first few miles, and then it begins to curve. And then if you go to the other side, you see that the bridge looks relatively flat until, for the first few miles, and then it begins to curve. So those two shots from either side are like, they're just giving the other one credibility.
So I'm going to show you guys something that I haven't really released out there, because it's just something I'm kind of working on. But one of the things that I've been trying to, I guess, kind of suggest to people is that we get a bunch of people all making these same type of observations, like Dandy was saying earlier. It's not that these observations can't be made other places. It's just that I don't think people are knowing to go look for them. And so one of the things that I was trying to think about is everywhere is railroad tracks, and typically there are large stretches of railroad tracks that the grade is level. They do that on purpose just for the sake of efficiency. So you should be able to see pretty long distances on railroad tracks. And since they're just everywhere in the world for the most part, there should be a number of places where you can find large, long stretches where people can make observations, especially with obstruction height. And if you have a good clearing, you could probably even see some curvature on the really long trains, because there are some long trains that are like a mile long. You might be able to see something there. But definitely with the obstruction height stuff, you can make some observations. And whenever the winter rolls around, I plan to take some more observations. Also, some really good observations of refraction, or not refraction, but of mirage, how mirage works. Even though there's mirage right here, these cars in the background are still at the correct height. They're still above the mirage. They're not being shrunk down or hidden by some magical force. But this particular observation right here, this red roof right here is 5.3 miles away. So I'm looking down railroad tracks, and I'm looking across a number of different crossing roads right here, and it just seems like, this is straight as an arrow from where I'm looking to this pole right here, basically. And it just seems like we can make it. There's a lot to be had here, is what I'm saying. There's a lot of observations that we can make around these types of observations where there's a significant amount of distance that's flat, not necessarily over water, but gives you some different levels of perspective because the cars are on different highways.
Those railway lines would probably be a good opportunity to lay a laser on the track as well. That would keep it not level.
Yeah, that would be cool. Need to find me a laser. Trying to get tentatively. Jesse Kozlowski said he wants to come down in October. So me and Dandy want to go out and find some ideal locations for him to set up along the banks. Obviously, being in a boat, that's not going to work. But yeah, and also Danny has already talked to the property owner of the land that's right underneath the observation point for the transmission towers. So basically on the ground instead of on the causeway. I mean, instead of on the highway right there.
Mm-hmm.
So we're making progress, making some more observations. It's gonna be good come this fall when everything's cooled down and we don't have all that turbulence in the air.
Yep. I'm curious now. So Riley has been talking about these electrical lines causing the apparent curvature. Does he use the same explanation for the curvature of the bridge?
He hasn't specifically, but there's a comment section under one of the videos where Dandy basically, I mean not Dandy, well Dandy actually responded to Ranty, but anyway, Ranty said that the whole lake is a electromagnetic soup, and it's causing the causeway to bend as well. It's essentially what he said. It's like, what the? Dude, you're crazy.
Another one of Riley's great hypotheses, eh?
Yeah, it's bizarre. It really is. I don't know if you watched any of ICE's Hangout yesterday. I joined ICE's Hangout yesterday to try and talk some sense into them. And Anthony was like in a, I don't know, hot tub or something. He was wearing like a Speedo or something. It was just terrible. It was just terrible. Oh man!
I mean that air guitar video clip was.
Yeah, Sean. Oh man! No, it wasn't Sean, but Sean was talking about it. Whose was it? It was Sly Sparkane. Was it his? I saw it today.
Yeah. Sean posted it. I think Sly did the video editing for it.
I see. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Now, if Lake Pontchartrain was an electrical soup, I imagine that would be causing all sorts of interference with your camera and phone and all sorts of things. So, you know.
Well, I imagine it would be creating all sorts of interference with the birds that are sitting on that are perched on the electrical lines. You know.
Okay, so maybe take a magnetic compass as well. I mean, I've got one on my phone, but it's good to have a physical as well. And let's see what sort of effects that this magnetic soup is having on your magnetic compass.
Exactly. Yeah, we definitely need to do that.
We can take like 5 different manufacturers.
You want to see? There's so many cool pictures that I've been able to take with this P900 that I can't fit them all onto a video, but I wanted to show you one of these. Look at this picture. It's freaking crazy. That's the bascule from the.
You're not sharing at the moment.
Oh, my bad. That would be helpful. Yeah. There needs to be a way to share where you're not sharing the Hangout. It's dumb.
Are you able to set up 2 screens? That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, I probably could actually. Yeah.
You can plug in a second monitor. I can do that with my laptop. It works really well.
Yeah, I should do that. That's a good idea. This is the bascule from the Mandeville side, the North Shore. So this is the North Shore bascule, and on this particular day, the refraction was insane, or the mirage was insane, and it just basically made it look like it was just floating out there. That was pretty awesome picture. But you know, I have noticed one thing is that the P900 it struggles with like resolution when you start getting to those crazy zoom levels. has a hard time with keeping things sharp.
Are you talking about digital zoom or just the optical zoom?
Yeah, just even the optical zoom, it's like, well, I guess I'm comparing it to like some other DSLRs I'm used to looking at.
Yeah, but I mean, with other DSLRs, you're probably not looking at the same level of zoom, and you're not looking at the same level of atmospheric turbulence.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're not gonna get near as close. You're not gonna have the power, obviously.
Yeah, but when you're looking at the moon with the P900, and the moon is 384,000 kilometers away, then you get a nice sharp image, particularly if you're using the optical zoom only. Obviously, if you use the digital zoom, you're going to degrade the image.
There's a setting to turn off the digital zoom, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, there is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to turn it off. Because
you need to set your timer, too.
I don't find it useful at all, that digital zoom.
Your timer, too. It's another thing. When we were out there the other day, and just the lightest wind was kicking that thing all around. And one thing is, I noticed whenever I would go to take a picture with it, you know, I'm moving it quite a bit, and I'm just barely touching it, but it's taking the photograph right after I'm touching it.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to set a timer, a 5-second timer or something on that thing.
Yeah, it's got an option. It's very easy to set. You can set either a 2-second or a 10-second delay.
Yeah, I've done that. I've done that on some of my shots. I've set the timer. Should probably just make a habit of doing it all the time.
Mm.
But yeah, stuff like this is what you're like. I look at this picture, and I'm like, that picture right there. What? Why did it do that? Lost it. All right. Yeah, so like this picture right here, which is from the North Shore. And like during the winter, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you're seeing. It's like some serious turbulence going on that side. I don't know why it's even hotter on this side for some reason.
So that's the resolution of the camera. That's really just the atmospheric.
Yeah, that's definitely. Oh yeah, absolutely. That for sure is atmospheric.
You were saying, I think you were saying that you don't know what those huts are for. They're quite.
I'm pretty sure that they are. I'm pretty sure that they are utility access. I'm pretty, for the basically the lights on the road. I'm pretty sure that's what they are.
Right.
Are they
connected to the bridge?
Yeah, they're connected to the bridge. Yeah.
Right.
Picture where you can see the huts curving on one side and the bridge curving on the other, and I'm like in between them. Dada, you know what picture I'm talking about?
Sorry, say again.
There's one video where the huts are on my left side and the bridge is on my right side, and you can see both of them curving together.
Yeah.
So that one right there, you can actually see the crosswalks.
Right.
Going between them. I think you can see this one as well.
During the winter.
Yeah. I mean, here's a crosswalk right here. It's hard to see, but there's a crosswalk and there's a crosswalk. They're all connected.
I see that. Yep.
But you can see how bad the turbulence was here. It was just terrible.
Yeah.
This is the same day that I took. Actually, all the causeway shots were taken on probably one of the worst days as far as atmosphere goes that I've shot. Like here's one, for example. You can see how bad the atmosphere is here. Look at that.
Ooh. Yep.
But this is actually a pretty cool shot, and it'll be even cooler during the winter when the haze is down, because you can see, that black piece that comes out from the bascule very clearly from here. And the reason why this shot's so much better is because this is one of the shots that I took from the top of that parking garage. So I'm like actually at the road height. I'm at the height of the road right here in this shot.
Right. Now I just grabbed a screenshot of that while you had that up. I'm just going to enhance that.
Oh, here. Let me full screen it for you.
Okay. What's the Hangout there?
Get rid of that. I'm trying to get rid of this. Go away. Okay.
Oh, we've got another one. Okay, I'll take that one instead.
So one of
Hey,
the
Daz, I have a question about Registax. Do you use it for any of your astronomical stuff?
I have used it. I haven't used it much. It's been a while since I've used it. Yeah, what was the question?
Have you played with videos, like taking, 10-second or
Yeah.
so you can?
Yeah.
I was thinking about using that for something like this. You think that might be helpful?
It's not something I've tried, but it yeah, could certainly try it. There's another one for stacking like star trails as well, and I was quite surprised to see the good results that it produced for even daytime time lapses. So yeah, it'd be worth a try. It's not something I've tried, but yeah, why not?
So the reason I like this particular shot is because you can see it kind of the curve kind of come up and then come back down, and I'd like to see this during the winter because this hut right here is actually behind the bascule, right? So this is further. This is more huts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7 here, and I think there's another one actually in front of this. So yeah, that's what I'm aiming for during the winter, eventually.
Okay,
Those are about a mile apart.
A long way, I don't know.
just sent you that enhanced image, Downley.
You know what? I just need to let everybody know who I am so I can stop worrying about sharing my screen.
Yeah, well, the 2 screens works really well. Just drag it over. In fact, a lot of my Hangouts, I'm using my laptop as well as my PC, so I do all my screen sharing on my laptop with the 2 screens on that one.
Okay.
So I'm hanging out twice. Right, so there's the raw image and there's the enhanced image.
Man, when we get some clear atmosphere, it's gonna be some good stuff.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Yeah, for sure. The one thing about the P900 is it does have amazing zoom. I don't know how they do that. Honestly, it's pretty crazy.
And of course, I've patented another zoom with what was it, 100 times zoom or 110 times zoom, something like that.
Who has that?
Nikon.
Oh, they have a new one coming out.
Well, I've patented the zoom lens for it. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. I look forward to when Wolfie gets it. He'll be the first one with it.
Yeah, I hope it comes with a gyro to keep it stable, eh?
Something.
Sure. That's going to cost a fortune.
So anyway, well, I have like a million pictures that I could do, and I'd be happy to, but I guess I'm done unless you guys want to see more stuff.
Well, we've seen some lovely curve across that lake today, so we're getting great results.
Definitely.
I just want to encourage others to go out and do it. It's really something, I mean, I wasn't really interested in this. You look at my YouTube channel, I upload crazy music, and just random shit, like a carburetor rebuild on a 4-wheeler and just nonsense. Wasn't ever into this stuff, but my brother told me that he was into. He sent me a video of Eric Dubé. I didn't know who that was at the time, and I listened to the first 20 minutes, and I couldn't believe. And then I saw Soundly's. I was like, oh, well, yeah, that's right down the road. which made me want to get out and take some pictures. I brought my telescope out and, you know, just went and did it instead of sitting behind a computer all day long, getting fat on Cheetos talking about it. Get out there and do it. Go look for yourself.
Yeah, and
It's fun. It's interesting.
I was actually thinking about it for a while. My brother's friend actually is a flat earther, and I've been, trying to, I guess, tailor some of the stuff that I make to in his direction, so to speak, so that I guess I'm trying to convince him that what he's thinking is incorrect, but in a way that's not like a blunt hammer. And anyway, so that's what I can tell you. That's one of my motivations. And my other motivation is, what Daz's hangout was. Daz, your hangout was today, right? 7. So
That's right. Yeah.
So I have to go back and watch that. But what, like, basically what your topic of your hangout today is basically why I got into it, because there's people out there that are vulnerable people that are really just naive or ignorant. And I don't mean ignorant in like a bad way. 15-year-old kid that's just running into stuff on YouTube, doesn't know any better, and they're being influenced by this stuff in a negative way, and it's like ruining their lives. And in some cases, like one of the case that you brought up, they actually take their life. Yeah. And that to me is just unacceptable, and especially coming from a group of people that are also at the same time claiming to be followers of Christ, who would not accept any of that. So that to me is just it's just like the height of hypocrisy, and it really gets under my skin, because they're influencing people in a very negative way, and it really is hurting people, and it's hurting their families, and it's taking lives away from people, and it's destroying lives that that otherwise would be perfectly fine, if they weren't wrapped up in all this nonsense. So I kind of feel like there has to be a voice on the other side that's saying, hey, just add the word debunk to your search term, and you won't have to worry about all this nonsense. So that's what got me into it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to have you on a hangout on my channel too sometime, Soundly. I want to get these images out far and wide, so we'll have to set
I'd love to, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd also like to, one of the things that I've talked to Cara, Diane, about is her actually showing how she went about building her model of the transmission lines. Because her models, you've seen it, right, Daza, her model?
No, I haven't.
Oh, let me show you that then. Yeah.
Yes, I have. I've seen this image posted on Facebook. Yeah.
So she built this in Unity game engine, and she basically pasted me the steps on how to do it. And of course, I've never really taken the time to learn Unity game engine, so I couldn't follow it well enough. And I asked her to set up some time for us to have a hangout, and her show me the steps she took. And then I suggested that we just publish it, make it essentially a hangout where anybody can just come and ask questions and see how it's done. And the interesting thing about it is that I think if anyone actually watched that hangout, I think it would do more to convince people that just see this stuff and don't realize what it really means. But yeah, essentially what she did is she made a sphere the size of Earth, and she placed these towers on them in a line, and this is the results. Like, here it is. That's exactly what you see in my photograph. Is this? I actually have a photograph, 4118, which looks exactly like that, but from the other side of the towers.
Right. And were these towers in the model placed at the same distance, like 950 feet apart?
She placed some, 0.18 miles, I think, was her measurement.
Right.
So, anyway, I think she even mapped to the, I think she mapped the camera to like 300 millimeter camera too, if I remember. I can't remember exactly how she set it up. She did something with the camera as well. But here's that extreme curve, like they like to call it. There's the extreme curve. But that, if you actually model the scene, this is what you would expect to see, right? And that's where I like to start with. It's like, okay, look, if we modeled the scene, what would we expect to see? That's what we expect to see. Here's the observation. It looks just like that. Now, if you think it's an extreme curve, then at this point, you need to stop and ask yourself, what's wrong with your perspective? What's wrong with your expectations? Because it's not. This is exactly what we would expect to see. So it's not the model that's wrong. It's your expectations of what the curve should be doing. And that's what I think we run into very often with the flat earth crowd, is that their expectations are off, right? They expect to see the horizon curving when we don't expect to see the horizon curving. And WGS 84 plus the limitations of human eyesight at 6 foot would not expect to see horizon curving. So they keep saying, well, the horizon doesn't curve. Well, okay, it's right. Yeah, so what? That's what we expect. So they keep debunking something that is not the standard model. And that's where we keep running into this confusion. It's like, that's not what we would expect. So if you're not debunking the model, you're to be debunking some fictitious model that you made up in your head.
And they keep expecting to see not only curvature, but tilt. Now, for example, these power pylons span a distance of, I think it was 18 miles.
16.
Correct? 16 miles. Okay, so to see one tiny degree of tilt, which would be impossible to perceive anyway, we would need to see a distance of 69 miles or 111 kilometers. Right. And we're only seeing 16 miles, which is a tiny fraction. So you're not going to see any tilt.
Right.
But we can see the results of the curvature as the towers head over the curvature of the Earth, because we're seeing a matter of tens of feet of hidden height. And yes, we can see that with a zoom. We're using the camera like a magnifying glass.
Exactly.
I had one
actually
flat earther. Yeah, I had one flat earther that suggested I take my P900 camera down to the beach and aim it out to the horizon and zoom right in, he said. Zoom it right into full zoom and show us how much curvature you can see. Well, that comment alone just showed his ignorance, because when I zoom it in, the field of view reduces from approximately 80 degrees at the widest field of view, zoomed right out, down to less than 1 degree when it zoomed right in.
Right.
So, it's a ridiculous thing to say. If he actually understood what it was that he was saying, you're talking about ignorance before. He was obviously ignorant as to what he was actually saying.
But okay, there are some of them that do genuinely, they are genuinely ignorant about that type of stuff, right? I mean, there's some of them that are genuine. But do you think that the majority of them know? I mean, they have to have heard it so many times by now that the field of view is so small. You're only seeing, a very small portion of the horizon, and so you're not expected to see any curvature there, because you're seeing locally flat, right? I mean, by definition, like that is the definition of locally flat. We're like actually making that happen by zooming into a 1 degree field of view. So do you really believe they think that, or do you think that they are just trolling? Or I mean, I don't. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes.
Yeah, I have no doubt that there are a lot of trolls involved, but I'm also quite convinced that the majority of these people actually really believe what they're saying. And I think that part of the problem that leads to them actually believing it is that they're completely incapable of basic math and basic geometry. Now, I'm no good at advanced math. I never did good with algebra at school, but I can do the basic math. You know, when you stop and take the circumference of the Earth, 24,900 miles, and you divide that by 360 degrees in a circle, you get 69 miles per degree. Now, that is very, very basic math, and it's very basic math that they don't seem to be capable of. They don't seem to be capable of actually understanding the implications of that very basic math. And the other thing that they don't seem to be capable of is understanding things in a three-dimensional setting. They can only seem to think in 2D, like we see these photos posted all the time, supposedly showing that the sun is just above the sky because of the angle of the beams. They don't understand that we're actually looking three-dimensionally into the image instead of two-dimensionally up in the image.
I mean, I agree that they have a hard time with three-dimensional visualization. I guess at some point they have to have heard the explanation, though, right? Like, what about our explanations are failing for the ones that are genuine, right, and the ones that aren't just trolling? And what about our explanations are failing to convince them? That's what I'm trying to understand. You know, I'd like to understand the psychology behind it so that, you know, we can solve that hurdle. You know, get across that hurdle.
Cognitive
dissonance. I think if you don't make it, it has to just be something that's seen and understood in the picture or in the video, like all of it at once. You can't have, as soon as you start with all this math and physics and geometry, they don't care. They have their mind made up about the Earth being flat. As soon as you start with all this other complex stuff, it just blows their mind. They stop listening. You know, the same thing with, you were just talking about, they have a hard time seeing this stuff in a three-dimensional way. I had a hard time seeing this in a three-dimensional way. When I was looking at Soundly's videos, his pictures, I'm like, I don't understand what I'm looking at. Like, I know what I'm looking at, but I've never seen anything like that in my life. It took me a while to realize I'm looking down a pool cue. This is what I'm looking at. You know, you're looking at something that's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's also, it looks like that curve is just so sharp. So they're saying, oh, we're on a basketball. And I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, man, yeah, this looks like just looks too much. It looks like there's too much curve in that picture. And it wasn't until I really like looked at it from the side. You can look at a street view. There's a boat that goes all the way along these pylons from one end to the other. And to actually go out and look at the bridge, to drive along that bridge. I've driven along that bridge maybe 200 or 300 times, maybe more, and never thought about that because I'm not looking at, you know, I'm not looking for any kind of curve. And as soon as you get some binoculars, we're at the top of the we're at the top of that levee on the east side, looking west. And one thing, my brother was with me and my daughter, and we're all looking at it, and I'm like, we could literally see it. Like, we're looking through the P900 and through my Canon, but I'm looking with my naked eye, and I'm seeing it with the naked eye. You know, you could start to see it drop. You couldn't see much, but you could see just enough to say, I'm seeing this with my naked eye, and I'm understanding it more now that I'm out here. Now that I'm looking at the length. I just drove the length of this bridge. I understand how long it is, and I understand the length that I'm cramming into just a small piece of my vision, you know, and how that works.
Right.
But
I almost
honestly,
forgot the
you
damn
have
question. I got it now. I remember. What is it that's blocking their brains from being able to, you know, understand some of these simple they're not so complex, but they're models that show a bit of complexity. Like, you know, we would be able to determine that the moon and sun are not local just by the fact that moon phases are not location specific. Simple stuff like that. Like it would be a different moon phase for Texas than in New York on the same day if they were local. That's obvious, but they can't see that model working in their head in order to make those sort of, you know, understandings.
Yeah, and then they turn around and say things like, you know, they look at the phase of the moon and they say that it's wrong for the shadow of the Earth because they don't even understand that it's not the shadow of the Earth that they're seeing on the moon in the first place.
No, that just recently started
That's sad.
happening again. They started doing that again, and I was like, where is this coming from? Because they're all saying it at the same time, and I'm like,
Right.
you guys realize that this isn't that what you're saying is wrong, like completely wrong, right? Like, why are you guys even saying this? And it's like, you know, it just
The Earth
doesn't.
has nothing to do with moon phases. Let me just put it out there for you guys.
Exactly. I'm not talking about an eclipse, dude.
Except for the fact that it's where you're observing it from. That's it. Other than that, nothing to do with it.
This is the street view that Dandy was talking about. It's a street view in a boat.
Oh, nice.
It's pretty neat.
Wow.
So this is the backside of the towers right here, or transmission lines right here. You can turn around and you can see the far, like over here, the big tall towers.
Mm-hmm.
And but I mean, I'm looking at this Google Street View on like low res, and I'm pretty sure I can make out the curve right there. I feel like that's curving. Of course, I've seen my pictures, so.
Well, I mean, have you seen the table where they had a humpy varnished wooden table with clothespins curving off to the right?
Oh.
Or the left or whatever.
I saw the army man. I didn't see the clothespins, but I saw the army man.
Oh, it gets better. And then they whip out a Matchbox car too.
Yeah, that's a doctor. That's the Dr. Zach video which is still up, by the way. He has like 140,000 views or something like that.
It's so weird. They don't care that. Listen, you know, I have like I was gonna say when I first came in, I didn't want to start just like ridicule. It's like picking on people that, you know, they're just never mind. But anyway, there's in reality, I see it as a psyop, you know, like it's designed to like just break up a bunch of people who would normally be a little bit more unified and in some of these if you know being able to understand more about, you know, the GMO issue, the real arguments in the GMOs issue, not the setup arguments, the real arguments with the vaccine issues, you know, it seemed like we had more momentum going, and then this happened.
Yeah.
Well, my brother, just from his perspective, because he's somebody that I personally know who believes in this, and I've known him. He's my stepbrother. I've known him for half my life now, since high school. And, you know, he's never cared about science or history. I mean, he's just chased girls and, you know, drank beer and watched television. He's never messed with any of this stuff. And then a couple of months ago, he started, a guy that we know together, a good friend of ours from high school, his brother is like, he is into it. It's like Wolfie's, you know, opposite, basically, because he has money and he is just obsessed with, I used to be this guy's roommate. I used to argue with him all the time about the moon landings because I've always been into that kind of stuff. But anyway, this guy has convinced his own brother, and his brother is a good friend of mine and my brother's, and he convinced him just like in a matter of minutes by showing him just a couple of things, you know. And his arguments were from the government lies to us about everything. Therefore, everything that we know is, you know, it's like, well, he brought up
the argument,
a flight from New Zealand to Argentina. And he was like, how come there's no flights from New Zealand to Argentina? And I never heard that before. So I basically booked a flight, a straight shot. And then I screenshot it and I showed it to him. And then he moved on to the next thing. If there's thousands and thousands of satellites, how come none of the satellites ever pick up, a picture of the other satellites? And I'm like, well, the orbit would make it a much larger Earth. And let's just say there's 1 million of them, right? There's 1 million satellites up there. And there's 7 billion of us on an even smaller ball down here. And I showed him, I took a picture. I was driving through the middle of a field because I live in the country to bring my daughter to school. And I'm like, I don't see any people in this picture. Like, how come I don't see any of the billions of people?
Yeah.
He's like, well, yeah, I watched this video and it shows the satellites. They look like they're bumper to bumper up there. And I'm like, but they're not. They're so far away from each other. You have no idea.
The perspective idea is like crazy. It's the largeness of the planet escapes them.
That's the big problem.
Yeah.
Anyway, I
the
showed
thing
him
is
some
when you
pictures that I'd
obviously see
taken.
curvature, I mean, and then they want to discredit, and it's sad because it's like they're discrediting things that are actually empirical. I mean, we can reproduce this. We have actual refraction math to, account for these effects. It even works in their favor, which they don't understand. It makes it look flatter than it is. It's working in your favor. And then, but the arguments, if you haven't noticed, everything gets flipped around to where they use this plea to emotion technique where, the government lies to you about, we're all in this. We know the governments lie to us. So we all know that. And then they're like, moving into some deeper areas. And then because God this and God that. And then it's like, now you don't see it now. You're like, really, you're even using it.
I've never heard the God stuff, but I don't mind them picking on the videos. I'm glad that Anthony and Ranty pick on him, but where they get out of line is whenever I picked on him in one of my videos because I was listening to this back and forth between Anthony and Randy, and this was right after I don't remember what it was. It was a Hangout. Soundly and Anthony were on, and he kicked Soundly toward the end of it.
Of course. And
then they continued on. Him and Ranty continued on, and he basically said that he had an observation that didn't match Soundly's evidence. So his evidence was better than Soundly's. And he had one photograph that he couldn't explain. And he even says, I took a whole bunch of photographs and I knew that most of them were no good. Like I was seeing something I wasn't supposed to see due to refraction.
Right. Yeah, they weren't fitting his comfort bias.
I'm like, well, right, yeah, exactly. Where are they? Like Soundly has shown everything that he's got. The bad stuff, the good stuff, but there's curve in every bit of it.
Yeah.
He even took pictures at night.
It's scientific methods, he's not trying to be like, obvious. And I see you go Soundly, I gotta tell you, you really you did yourself. I mean, only because like they're just wearing you out on purpose now. You've already done your job. I mean, you've shown that there's curvature. You're beyond any
I kind of think of it as two hats, and like even tonight, I think you kind of see that. Like I went and collected all the data, but I didn't actually try and make any calculations with that data, right? Like,
right.
If I were in the business of being a flat earther, I would have just not shown anything until I had found something that completely 100% matched Mick West's calculator.
Yeah.
Like so like I went and collected all the data that I could, and I put it out there, hoping that somebody else would just go try and do some calculations. Like maybe we can, have some type of like a collaboration where I collect data, some other people make calculations based on it. And
video.
That's what I'd like to see, honestly.
It's a flat Earth experiment telescope.
What's that?
That's the title. It's a video that shows curvature and from 3 different locations, does the refraction math and everything. If you see how he formulates or outlines it, where he puts the tape measure on the telescope, and he drops it to the water level, so you can see his actually, he's 1 meter off the ground. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then, so it's pretty good. I mean, if you do all of that and you take from an observational, like a tower that you can do a quick Wikipedia up and see that it's like 265 meters tall or whatever, and then you get about 41 miles away, you can see a good 127 meters of, of hidden curvature and stuff like that, like on his video. Then you can do calculations. Otherwise, we wouldn't know. You know what I mean? The height of things. You know that.
Yeah, one of the things that I've had a really hard time with, it's not so much my altitude, it's the gauge height. Like around where we live, it's the water is not at zero, right? The water is not at sea level.
Right.
Most of the water that we're talking about is all inland, so it's got the surface actually has some water to it. So it's hard to actually figure out what the gauge height is on any given day in any given location, because there's not gauges everywhere, right? You almost would have to go have your own gauge out there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just grab a tape measure and then just measure, hold your telescope over the tripod or whatever over the water and measure your down to the water, so you get the height.
Yeah. Or the other method is, as I mentioned earlier, is use a length of conduit or a length of dowel, some sort of pole where you've got 1 foot increments measured on it. If you're aiming your camera straight at the horizon from that low elevation, the horizon is going to be pretty much at 0 degrees. So you can actually calculate or measure your distance from the water level by placing your conduit or your dowel in the water there, and just check the line out to the horizon on that measuring rod.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah. And I need to go and get some dinner. So, thanks, guys. I'll bow out at this stage. And thanks, Soundly. Keep up the good work.
All right. Thanks for stopping by, Daz.
Thanks, Daz.
Cheers.
Yeah, I don't have much left either. I need to get some sleep too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me on, man.
Yep.
I was going to tell some anecdotal stories about, whining about how the cult treats the people who have information, but you all know that already.
Yeah. we know that every time we listen to a Flat Earth Hangout.
I just mute it and get banned out of their chat. I really try not to be disrespectful and things like that.
I never. I honestly think that I'm an easy guy to get along with, and I love having conversations with people that are obviously like trying to get to the truth.
Right.
What I have a hard time with is when people start attacking my character. They start saying, "Oh, this is obvious CGI," or "You're lying," or this isn't really where you were. There's every possible thing that you can think of. People just throw out there, and then the other thing that frustrates me, I would say it doesn't really tick me off as much, but it frustrates me is when people.
It saddens you.
Yeah, it saddens me when people come and watch one video and they're like, "Well, you should have taken video from the other side, and you should have
not one. Like you didn't have one from the other side already too, though.
And like you should have given me GPS locations. You should have told us your height and all." And I'm like, dude, I've got like 20 videos where I got to copy paste the same shit in every description.
I've been blasting your videos all over the place, man. So
good thing. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Because of that holy P900 issue. And is it a fixed lens camera?
What do you mean? Is
like the lenses don't come off and replay? Right. You can't put different lenses on there?
No, you can't. You can't change the lens.
Yeah, okay. So, and that's why it has such bad resolution when you zoom all the way out, right? Like, because it kind of like it's not just.
I think it's what Daz was saying earlier. I think Daz is right. The zoom is so high. You're getting so much turbulence coming from the atmosphere.
Aperture, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just I think it's mostly the atmosphere. I think probably on a clear.
No, it's the sensor. I read some stuff up on it. It's definitely it's because it's a camera. it's like it's a great camera, really, and it has the best, the furthest zoom, but it's just not the clearest zoom, you know, for a fixed lens camera.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not a $10,000 lens, but
No, exactly, and it would be if it was like, you know, uh, one of those telescope lenses. It would be a very expensive lens. I mean, not 10,000.
yeah,
But, you know,
I got to be honest. That camera versus like lugging around a telescope is no comparison, right? I
I
mean,
bet.
unless you really want to get that freaking maximum zoom, which I do want to do one day. Like one of my goals is I actually set up a Patreon because I was trying to get people to. I was trying to get flat earthers. You want to see a good shot with a P900?
Right. Well, no, you know, there's enough people out here, man. I mean, everybody throws you a couple of dollars and there's your telescope. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
We do it all the time.
What I wanted to do was get a Celestron 8-inch Cascade Celestron 8SE, because the Celestron 8SE is a 2,000 millimeter prime lens, basically. I mean, you can essentially I could attach it to my Canon DSLR, my Canon Rebel T5, and then
I got one of those too.
Yeah, and then I would have like the full like high resolution coming from that 8-inch cast screen, right? Like a 2,000 millimeter 8-inch cast screen. I'd have really sharp, detailed images, and it would blow away the P900. I mean, it would.
Yeah, for sure.
And then if you set it up for eyepiece projection, then you would just absolutely annihilate the P900 because you'd start getting some crazy magnification. But
for sure. Well, that's what the thing is about the stars when they take photos of the stars with the P900, because of that hexagon sensor and the way it doesn't get a good zoom and it looks all weird. And they go, "This is what the stars really look like." It's like, man, if you only knew. It's a very terrible camera to try to look at stars with. It makes no sense. And yeah, because our Canons, our little Canons take better photos of the stars zoomed in.
Yeah. I mean, you can actually get some amazing shots, like
got the 400
of the moon and of Jupiter and of Saturn. You can actually get some amazing shots with the P900. Which, like, if you go buy like an amateur telescope, it's going to blow away the amateur telescopes. It really is. So,
yeah, let's do that another time, man. We'll get together and talk about that shit another time.
Dude, I would love to just. I really think there's this place right by Treasure Chest Casino on the South Shore. It's called Lake Town, and there's a pier out there. It's called Pier 1. And I've taken a bunch of pictures from there, but I really think, like with the 8-inch cast screen from there, I would get some amazing shots of the causeway, because you can see like some really amazing like things from that pier, and like even the transmission lines that I've been taking pictures of, you can see them from that pier on the South Shore. And what you can see them as they gradually like get obstructed more and more and more by the horizon as they move off in the distance.
That'd be an easy one to show that when you zoom in, you don't see more bottom rise up.
No, yeah, absolutely
over the horizon. You know, that'd be an easy one to show that.
Absolutely not. Actually, there's actually a picture that I have before the P900 where it was an exceptionally clear day, and I actually got a whole nother string of transmission lines to the right side of the transmission lines that I normally take pictures of. It's all in the same shot, and you can actually see in that shot the transmission lines getting more and more obstructed by the horizon as they move off.
Oh, cool! From two different angles, so you can actually see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're not going in the same direction as the other ones, right? They kind of.
Yep. I could actually pull that shot up real quick. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Because I'm trying to visualize the model of it in my head without seeing it.
Yeah. Let me find it real quick.
So you like a lot of stuff NASA's doing right now?
I like a lot of stuff.
I didn't form that properly. Don't read into that.
I really like what SpaceX is doing right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I think NASA's finally starting to talk more about like the plasma cosmology side of things. So
I haven't been
found
following any of that.
oh yeah, the electric asteroids. For a few years now, they've been slowly, um, allowing that sort of talk in their forums and stuff. They
Gotcha.
detected the alphine waves and the plasma. There's a lot of different stuff going on with what they're doing. As far as that's concerned, it's going to end up rewriting their textbooks, all of our textbooks, when it all comes down, because they're going to, make an open announcement. There's electricity in space. It's not vacuous of electrical activity as we suspected.
You're talking about electric universe stuff.
Yeah, theory.
Yeah.
Well, plasma cosmology. I mean, I guess it's the same thing.
This is that picture I was talking about then.
Oh yeah, there you go. Perpendicular, even.
This is
And
definitely
it drifts off all over the horizon, lower and lower. Yeah,
Yep.
That's nice. Yeah, that's how I imagined it. A little bit more.
And that's how you see the curve. Like this is how you see the left to right curvature, because the horizon is all at the same distance, right? So if you want to actually see left to right curvature, you got to see.
And you got to imagine that's going further away and to the right at the same time. So it's like that angle there.
Yeah.
Perfect. I mean, no shit. That's literally perfect. When someone says that you're not showing curvature, they're basically just lying. There's just nothing to it. You know what I mean? And then there's the photos where the sunlight is at the bottom of the clouds instead of on top. Like, how's that happening on a flat Earth model? Seriously. Then they like to show that NASA photo. They don't believe in NASA, but they show that NASA photo where the sun looks like it's right over the Earth because there's land blocking the reflection on the water behind this one spot, but then there's water, so it looks like the sun is just all of a sudden, it made it look like an optical illusion of depth to where it looked the sun would be closer and over the Earth directly instead of, way off and back and way.
There it is. I was waiting for you to bring that up. Show them the good one. Did you save that, Soundly? The one that I showed you, where
Both of
the
those are
moon
good.
is rising in the shadow of a mountain?
You know what? I did save it, but I don't know what folder I saved it in.
Yeah, that's just, how's that happening on a flat Earth? That's all I want to know.
Well, you haven't seen Rob Skiba's video?
Absolutely not. Just tell me how it's happening.
There's an even better one of this.
Explain it.
The moon is rising in the shadow of the mountain,
Oh.
which is above the horizon. How in the world is that happening on a flat Earth?
In our chat history and see if I can find it real quick.
My goodness.
If you just Google moon rising in shadow of mountain, click the Google link. The guy, it was a video on Vimeo for the longest time, but he added it to YouTube last year. It's only got a couple hundred hits on it too. Not many people have seen it.
Here we go. Here, hold on. Yeah, I Googled exactly what you said, and there's a whole bunch of links. I'll let you tell me which one to click. Hold on.
Is it Moonrise through Mauna Kea?
Yep, that's it.
All right.
It's the only one on YouTube as far as I know.
Oh yeah, I see that. Woo! It's like, look, it's under a mountain. Oh my goodness.
First off, how is the shadow of the mountain above the horizon? And then how is the moon in the shadow, which is above the horizon? Like, that's impossible.
I just like to apologize to everybody in the chat right now, because I'm doing a very terrible job at reading the chat, and I always get aggravated whenever the host doesn't read the chat. So I'm doing what I hate other hosts do.
I got friends in there. Hi, friends.
Anyway, I'm about to shut this thing down, dude. I'm getting tired. So,
well, it was fun. I'm glad we got to do it, man. I just had a great time, and I want to encourage everybody else to go and do it too.
Yeah, exactly. I really
Don't just
do.
sit behind the computer and talk about it. Just go and do it. Go figure out something like this. And
Yeah, I was going to say
You know?
I was going to say this too, that when Christmas time rolls around, I saw this in Sam's Club. Sam's Club has like this whole package. It's like a DSLR. It's a Rebel T6. It's like a whole package, bag and lenses and filters and everything else like that. It was like $600 or something like that. If everybody had like even just a 300 millimeter lens, like you can film this stuff, man. You don't have to have the holy grail P900. You really don't have to have that. But obviously, if you can get a P900, then do it. It's only $600 too. So only $600. It's not only, that's a lot of money, but the more people we got doing this, the more the pile of evidence builds up. The less we have to talk about it, and the more we can just show it. And that's, I think, what Dandy said earlier is actually right on. Is that you just have to show them pictures, more and more pictures until they can.
Sorry, that just seems so. If someone said that to me, I would be like, "Damn, you're condescending."
What's that?
Oh, you just need pictures for you. Like, there's your book.
Well, I do think that there's something to be said about saying too much. You know, like speaking too much just detracts away from like what the video evidence is.
No, you're right. You're right. Less is more. That's for damn sure in a lot of cases.
Hey, George, welcome.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
But thanks, man. Have a good night.
Over the past couple hours, I've tuned in periodically, and I caught a few things that you gentlemen have been talking about over that period of time. Do you look at the live chat at all?
Yeah, I have just made a comment a second ago that I've been doing really bad at looking at the live chat. And
because there's a lot of people out there besides myself that have a good background in mathematics and experience in these matters, and they have some good input, and you guys just have totally ignored it. But what I've found, there are certain misconceptions that you guys have, and sitting and listening to you guys, unfortunately, sometimes is like listening to a flat Earth hangout. Is you guys are just talking amongst yourself and reinforcing some of your own misconceptions.
Well, please correct us.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm here for.
I'm sure you are.
What do you think that when you divide the circumference of the Earth by 360 degrees and get 69 miles per degree, what that means? Does that have any relationship at all to what you're going to see on the surface of the Earth regarding curvature?
You just answered the question. You get 69 miles per degree. What are you talking about?
No. It has nothing to do with what you will view on the Earth regarding curvature.
Okay.
That 1 degree per 69 miles is an angular measure that occurs geometrically from the center of the Earth. If you take two spots on the Earth on a line of longitude and space them 69 miles apart and draw lines from those 2 points to the center of the Earth, the angle that you get in that triangle to subtend those 2 points is 1 degree. It has nothing to do with angular measure on the surface of the Earth, and that is a mistake that many people make. It's totally meaningless in relating anything to curvature in which you're going to see.
I didn't even hear him put it in that context.
Let's say you have a building that's located, in one place, 69 miles away. There's another building, same identical size, height, and everything. You're telling me that those two buildings won't be leaning 1 degree away from each other, the tops of the buildings?
Thank you.
Yeah, they'll be leaning 1 degree away from one another, but what does that mean? Nothing.
That's what he's
that's
talking
all.
about.
That's all I
It
mean.
means yeah, it does mean
That's all
something when you build a bridge across two high buildings, and then you have to actually account for that one.
Look at one degree of tilt is not noticeable. It goes as a cosine of the angle. So you're subtracting 1 degree from 90 degrees. That's the cosine of 89 degrees the sine of 89
Yeah,
degrees.
we understand, but it's still there.
George.
But it doesn't mean anything.
We agree with you.
It
So
does
what?
mean something.
I'm trying to wait for you to get to a point because I agree with all that. So
Yeah, so do I. It's not even as if he's coming to correct anything. I don't understand why.
What I'm saying is that what I was going to say is that if you're standing up above, are you going to let me speak?
Oh, you didn't have to stop. I'm just talking with you. Oh, you're going to do the whole power trip thing? Oh, you're going to interrupt me now? You came in here stepping all over people, acting like a big badass.
I'm
you
not
just said the same
stepping on
thing we were
anyone.
saying and not in different words.
Forget it. Forget it. Do your
And
thing.
you want to
I'm
be
curious.
rude.
I'm
You've
curious
always
to
been
hear.
rude.
I'm curious what you're going to say,
George, I'm curious. George, go ahead.
Just let him talk.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
If you're going to view outward from, say, an average height of 6 feet, your view to the horizon is 3 miles. That's all you're going to see. Now, if you're going to try to detect curvature, what you're looking at is if you establish a tangent, say, from the center of your field of view, and you're going to look right or left outward, and you view out around that curve that is 3 miles out radius from your point of view. At the edge, the drop angle that you're going to see at best is going to be around 0.022 degrees, which is right at the angular resolution of the eye. And this is a
doesn't it
thing
depend on
that
how
you
tall the
guys
building
know.
is? I mean, how tall
you're not going to let me talk? Is this it?
No, I mean, I'm asking a question before you get too far away from the point. Otherwise, people won't be understanding what my question is because it'll be so far away from the point. Is it a big deal to just ask a little question? Because I'm not trying to break you apart or anything. I mean, get off guard so much. I'm saying, doesn't it depend on whether or not the building or whatever the observational point, the target, viewing target, how tall it is, as to how far away you'll be able to see it?
I'm not talking about the building. No, listen, I am just talking from the horizon. If you're looking out at the horizon and you want to detect curvature of the horizon.
From zero, you can't see.
I'm not saying
1 degree that we were talking about unless you use.
Look you're not listening to me. I
What are you yelling about?
It from 6 feet above.
Like one of them 85-year-old people. Yeah, I mean, pound people who yell a lot.
Mister, just let him. That
was Freudian. Sorry.
I initially stated that you're standing 6 feet above the earth. I did not say you're at the earth at zero.
Yeah,
height.
we're standing 6 feet above the earth. What the fuck are we looking at, though? That's my point.
The horizon.
I'm talking about looking at
the horizon, and you're trying to see. I know, but here's the thing. He's trying to make a point that you can't see the 1 pitch degree on the horizon. Of course you can't. We'd have to be able to see it from a target, an observational target.
We're beyond that. I'm not talking about one. I'm not talking about a degree of a pitch of 1 degree. We're beyond that. We passed that. You're not listening.
George.
Forget it. I'll see you guys later. Take care. This guy just refuses to listen, and he loves to interrupt.
I refuse to understand. What did I do, man? I just didn't get stepped on well enough. What? I mean, you weren't rude enough to me. I didn't accept it hard enough. What was it?
I was just trying to see.
He's like a punk is gonna have to, I don't cater to that sort of behavior though, dude, because when you do, they do it even more and then they don't ever stop. That's what the problem is.
Talking about how he's knowledgeable at math, and so am I. So I mean, I wanted to understand what he thought my error was. So You know, I
He did.
was,
I noticed that
I wanted him to get to the point so that I could understand what he was talking.
Wasn't. He was basically gish galloping around in circles and trying to, because he wasn't making you look bad. He had no argument against what you were saying. It was ridiculous. He was trying to make a logical fallacy argument. He was trying to straw man the argument by acting as if you were trying to, make a proposition that you weren't even trying to make.
I don't even remember talking about
such a waste of time.
I
Yeah, he
remember
does this all the time though. And then he plays the game like, oh, you're interrupting a poor old man. Like, shut up, dude. You came in here stepping all over, throwing your little dick around like it was bigger than it was, and all of that shit. Stop it.
Look,
we're weird like that, man. I mean, I've dealt with him on many occasions like that.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know the guy, but I didn't really hear any of that. I don't know what conversation I was listening to, but it wasn't that one. I heard he was a little rude by saying, I don't even think he was rude. He just came in and politely told us that we were.
No, he gets off on that. That's called passive aggressive, and he gets the giddies out of that shit. He thinks he's getting.
Well,
you.
whatever
I don't
it is,
like to let him get away with shit like that. It feeds him.
George is in. He's always in Earth Discussions 2.0, and
I just want to hear what he has to say. That's all.
Yeah, and he has a personality, but it's okay. It's just George, and I'm okay with it.
But isn't my personality okay too, though?
Sometimes it comes on a little bit. Sometimes it comes on a little bit strong. But if he has a point to make, I want to hear what it is, because if he thinks I made some type of mathematical mistake, I want to know what it is so I can correct it. So that's why I was just trying to get you to let him talk. Because okay, he has a personality. Okay, well, just suck it up, because that's just George, man. I don't know why he does that, but he does it. Okay, move on.
Right, and that's just me too. I mean, why can't I just be me then? I don't understand that. Why someone else can be them all over me, but I can't be me all over them back.
Well, because you shut the conversation down before it even started. That's why. I just called out particular points that were not making sense immediately, so that we didn't have to sit there and listen to the whole senseless basket.
If George is still out there, I'd like him to rejoin and just let him.
Yeah, definitely. I'll let him go ahead and repeat all of that.
Yeah, please do. I'd like to.
He was talking about trying to that you couldn't detect. I don't even know what he was saying. He was saying if you're 6 feet tall and you're looking at the horizon, it's going to be a pitch of 0.22.
No, he's saying the drop angle. So, like, how much you would
drop angle.
Yeah, how much you would expect to see the horizon drop on the left and right side is like 0.022 or something like that. I can't remember exactly what you said. But George, please join again. I hope you're still out there. And Mister's going to let you talk.
It's a big old game. It's just another way to, make me look like a bad guy, because they antagonize the shit out of me over there at that Earth Discussions 2.0 for the past 2 years. I mean, with these, debate.
Yeah, you have. Look, I've been over there, and I know what you're talking about. But you have history with it, and he rubbed you the wrong way, and so you just kind of like.
Well, no, he campaigns though. He campaigns. I can't even step in there and say hello without a bunch of fucking retard asshole and all this kind of weird stuff. And it's like it's a campaign. Then he comes over here and acting all innocent, like he's and then knowing damn well. And I was being hella cool with him by allowing him to even start fucking talking at me in the first place, because he already lost that right, that privilege to be talking to me, because the shit that they did. I sit there and I show them NASA articles and things about Alphine waves and plasma cosmology and things, and they say I'm fucking crazy because they're not looking at the articles. All they know is what they've heard in the past, and this doesn't make sense. It doesn't comport to their old knowledge because it's new knowledge. And of course I must be a conspiracy fucking nutter. So that's all. They've been for 2 years acting like that to me, dude, banning me and shit because I want to say hello or whatever. It's like, and I don't get it's the whole thing. And then never coming back and saying, oh, look, the articles he was trying to show us, this whole time that we've been banned, treating him completely like shit for, he was actually right. I mean, just yesterday, finally, I showed everybody Gus, you know, the guy Gus who gets himself sick and stuff because, you know, fucks around online too much or something. I don't know. But yeah, this guy finally showed everybody that, you know, the fucking guy's been fucking just making up bullshit arguments and never knowing what he was talking about as far as the plasma cosmology issue went, or the you know.
I just would like to understand what George was trying to get at. Like, was he trying to say there's something?
I think I stumped him, dude, and that was it.
Mathematical
He was
error.
he was trying to conflate the two ideas together, acting like that's what you were doing.
I don't think we even did any math today, so I'm trying to understand what he was even getting at. And that's now I kind of feel like at a loss because I wish he was come back in here. Honestly.
Well, I look at this. This is like my first little bout with it, or first, you know, I actually went out and made some observations too. I saw it with my own eyes. And now I want people to poke it. I want to be as open as possible to people poking it. I'm interested to hear
absolutely
any criticisms that anyone has to say. I don't want anybody to be able to come back and say, oh, you didn't give him a chance to, oh, he was going to say this, that, and the other. Here's the time. I don't have a lot of time. I have kids. I have a wife. I have a family. I have a lot of stuff to do. I made this time for now, and I don't know when I'm going to get some more time. So I want to hear what he had to say. I don't care if it's Hitler. If Hitler is saying something smart, intelligent, and right, I want to hear it. I just want to know what's true. I just want to know what's the truth about what we saw.
Somebody in the chat, please reach out to George. Ask him to come back. I want to see if I can. Is he on? Is Earth Discussions going right now?
I don't know, but if we got something wrong, I want to know what it is.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Simple as that. I don't think at any point in this conversation I said, you know, we live on a globe or we live on a flat Earth. I just know what I see. And I know
Lost Horizon, aka Debbie, you know, in there in the chat. She's a theoretical mathematician and all kinds of other stuff. And she's a lot more interesting to talk to than that creepy George guy. If you had any questions, you know, and I'm sure you probably don't, but I mean, I'm just saying the guy's full of shit, man. She's a lot easier on the eye too.
Whoever wants to join and explain, you know, what George is trying to explain to us, please jump in here.
Oh, I don't know if we can try to explain what George was trying to explain to you.
All right, mister, we get it. You don't like George. All right.
Well, I mean, look at the shit fit he threw.
Well, you kept interrupting him, man. I mean, to be fair to George.
Really? I mean, look, when me and you talk back and forth, we interrupt each other lightly, and it's not offensive at all. Why is it so fucking offensive to him then?
Apparently, you two have a history. I can tell.
That's my point, though. You know, we're sitting there having a decent. He's wanting it to be that way. That's why he's like, overly fucking, you know, biting, overreacting about it. He's pulling Darth Dawkins bullshit, you know. He's overreacting, trying to put you in place, trying to make a scene out of it, you know, make you feel uncomfortable, being rude. Just fucked up, man. You don't need to be rude for no reason. So I'm a bully back to the bully. I'm not the one who starts this shit, man.
One of the things that I said earlier was I get irritated by hosts that don't read the public chat, right? They kind of lose track of the public chat. And I had just done the same thing. But this is my first time. I'm a new freaking hosting one of these.
Yeah, you just apologized for that, and then he came in and bit your ass off for it.
And
put you in a pecking order.
And so I was trying to get back into the chat, and he comes in, and the one thing he did was kind of he had his feelings hurt because we weren't listening to the chat, which I kind of agree with. I was like, okay, well, not necessarily the feelings part, but yeah, I should have been more attentive to the audience.
Well, you said it first, though.
I apologize for that. But whenever he did come in and he became a member of the panel, like, we should just let him talk so we can hear what he has to say. That's
after he was done insulting you, right?
Yeah, but I can take that. I'm a man.
Right.
Man.
I'm just saying. Okay, but let's not forget that he was doing that, though. let's not act like put him on a saint pedestal, like Mr. Poor
Yeah,
Bill.
I don't
He didn't
expect.
do anything
I guess,
wrong.
I
Yeah,
guess
well, don't fucking worry. Don't get, don't
Dude.
try to control my, emotional response to his, being
I'm
an
not trying to
asshole in
control
the
you.
initiative.
I'm trying.
You
I'm
know
not
what I
trying to
mean?
control you. I'm trying to tell you that I expect humans to be humans and make mistakes and be irritating.
Right, so
Sometimes.
let's report that to him first when he makes his mistake,
And
then,
I
instead
I
of
just suck it up
to
and
just
deal with it.
me,
Because
right?
sometimes I'm aggravating, and sometimes I'm an idiot, and that's okay. And people just suck it up and deal with it. And that's what adults do.
I know. I still don't care about him either. I still don't care. I don't know why we're still talking about him. It's just like, oh wait, what a waste of time.
Well, I guess I'm just trying to convince you that it would have been more productive to let him talk.
We did let him talk. Don't you remember? He was rude. He was insulting. Then he started gish galloping and then dancing around an ad hoc idea, trying to find something that you didn't do wrong. I caught him. That's why he's flustered. That's why he's not back. He's working out an idea right now before he comes back because he doesn't have one. I've been through this with him before.
He might not be back because it's 1:06 Central Time right now.
Well, I mean, that would be his other excuse, but he's sitting here watching. He didn't leave, dude. He's a lurker.
He might be sleeping right now. Yeah.
Right, yeah, he might be. Aliens might have abducted him, too. Who knows, right?
I don't know. If
But
he came in cussing
let's
us
talk
out,
about
I still wouldn't care. I just want to know what he has to say. I just want to know what anybody has to say.
Yeah.
If they want
If we
to.
give him enough time, he'll ad hoc an idea and come back in later.
Okay, great. And if he comes up with something that makes no sense, we'll ask him more questions.
I know.
Anyway, I really wish
I'm
George
not mad at you. I mean, I'm just saying, don't let him pull that bullshit of dividing the community around, because that's what the game is. It's a bunch of social bullshit.
Yeah. There's no reason to feed into all that drama, man. It's just sometimes people have different personalities and they rub each other the wrong way.
I know, but don't be the target of it and then try to tell you know what I mean? You're not the target of all that drama.
I'm pretty sure I was the target.
Like, you don't go after big pharma, big agri, big oil, big religion. I'm after all of them. And then I've got these idiot shill types coming around talking all kind of bullshit, trying to discredit the work that I do, and then they act like I'm the fucking troll. And it's just because I've got a little bit of an attitude back, because I don't take it kindly. I don't, you know what I'm saying? So, and then you've got that kind of thing going on. And so it's not like, give somebody advice when you are actually in the,
when you got people
predicament, you know what I mean?
Liars and stuff like that, I totally understand. Okay.
Yeah, these guys are full of shit. All they do is try to maintain the status quo. Anything outside of the status quo, they won't hear you about oil being abiotic, even though you've got all the evidence that you'd ever need. And then you could even show Comet 67P and how the rapid hydrocarbon formation is occurring there, and even the exact electrochemical reactions that are happening to prove that that's what's going on. And you're still, you're fucking crazy. Even if it's the Rosetta mission, it's like they're trying to knock down, real information for some reason. And then they try to throw you in the same bus with flat earthers and David Icke's and all these fucking retards and Alex Joneses.
Well, I think that's what this whole thing has just been. They. This guy came in. He made some valid criticisms.
Circle of friends.
Right off the bat. Hold on.
Right.
Right off the bat, he said, "Well, hold on." Right off the bat, he talked about the fact that it was just us in an echo chamber. That's true. That's why he's invited. Come on in.
Yeah, and that's why
next point.
That's one of the things
he said
that I criticize flat earthers about all the times. They sit around. You're just verifying their errors with each other.
Yeah, but I mean,
I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I want to
can't even get a few minutes to introduce ourselves. You know what I mean? Like you and I, and like talk about anything else, or is he gonna, tell us that we're on his time clock and we have to behave just like he's and dance monkey dance and do exactly what he says and act exactly like he says act. You know what I mean? Like, who gives a shit?
No, he just. I think it would have been fair.
For a minute, right?
I think it would have been fair to give him a few minutes to talk without being interrupted at all, just to let him make his point, just like everybody else was given.
Man, he wasn't. Dude, if I go,
but he didn't. He was given no chance, no opportunity. There was no opportunity.
Oh yeah, there was plenty of
You closed.
opportunity.
You closed it.
He
But there
closed
wasn't.
it.
You kept
He
interrupting.
closed it. He overreacted to a simple word or two. That he closed it to try to act like there's his reason why it's being closed. Oh, because he simply could not possibly get a word in edgewise. Give it a break. He could have. It's not like I sat there and talked over him until you couldn't hear him, and then it was just me talking. No, I said a couple of words, and he's like, "Oh, doing too much, man. Overreacting, being a big ass baby
Well.
about a conversation, you know."
Well, whatever. I think we should have let him talk. I think he was feeling.
Yeah, we still could have let him talk. He still could be talking. That's the whole point. He ain't here.
Well,
He don't wanna be
if anybody
here.
else has
He
criticisms,
got
that's what
caught
I'm
in his-
interested in.
I know, but what happened
I don't
was
care how. Look,
he got caught.
I don't care how
already,
rude they are.
right?
I don't care how rude they are. I want to hear the criticisms.
Yeah, me too. That's why I sat there and waited for him to say his criticisms. But he didn't. He gave it hell, but it was over before it even got started.
Yeah,
He tricked right
I
on
just
him.
don't want to be like all the other flat Earth channels where you don't like somebody, so you can.
Hell no, me neither. That's not what happened at all, dude.
That's not what happened. But
There's more subtleties there than you're
result.
paying attention to. Right.
It's the same result because he couldn't talk. You know.
No, dude, he could talk. He just acted like he couldn't talk. It's like we gave him a sip of water and he pretended like I drowned him. It's just too much. Because I'm like, what do you mean from the perspective of what? Because I'm trying to understand his model. He's trying to present a model, right? And before he goes on and finishes building the whole thing, I need to step back and see what was the base made out of again. What do we, before we build this, what was the base again? So I can get and he's not being patient enough to, that's the point. He's being impatient, so impatient with me trying to find out what it was he was talking about, that he's overreacting, trying to make a bigger deal out of it than it is. And you guys are catering to that shit. That's like feeding babies, man. It's like psychosis. It's not good, dude. You're feeding his little bullshit.
Well,
I know, but you're like
whatever it
catering to
is
him for doing that, right?
Look, whatever, man. Look, whatever you want to
getting
say. I want to
attention
hear
right
the
now for that
criticism. I don't care if a 3-year-old comes in here and throws milk at the wall. I want to hear what the criticism is.
You don't like that I disagree with you, so you just said that I have a psychosis.
No, not you. I said
like
him.
So ignorant, man.
No, dude, I didn't say you. You just misunderstood me. I said you're feeding his psychosis.
I'm not feeding anybody psychosis.
You do when you cater to his behavior like that. When you go, oh, poor baby, he was so mean to you.
Sometimes I tolerate.
But he set that up, bro. He set that shit up. They do it all the time.
Things because I want to get to the other end of it. Like I don't. Everybody's personality doesn't fit with everybody else's personality, but you just tolerate it sometimes. Because you want to see what they're going to say. I mean, that's why, because I just want to know what he was going to say. I want to know what he was talking about.
Read the chat, dude. You got Atheist Rex, one of his other little butt buddies. He's in there. Grim was trying to tell George that the solar system was held in place by electrical circuits. After we all had a good laugh, George fixed his little wagon. Right? I know, that's hilarious, right? And then
Rex.
So Lost Horizon, right here, Lost Horizon with PhDs and all in your face says, well, they're called Berkeley currents, and the concept is well documented for decades. So how am I to be laughed at by these fucking idiots? You know what I mean? Like I'm stupid or something. That's my point. Atheist Rex, thank you. You just proved my point. See what I'm saying, guys? And that's what I'm talking about, man. It's a gang campaign effort of bullshit. And don't let them do that shit to the truth, man. I'm not sitting here fucking blowing smoke up your ass or talking bullshit to you guys.
Hey,
you're falling for the
Grimm.
social game, dude.
Hey, Mr. Grimm, have you ever been in a locker room? Have you ever been an athlete?
Of course. What are you talking about?
Okay. Well, you know what happens in locker
Maybe
room?
not, of
The
course,
guy that's always whining and always crying is the guy that gets picked on the most. And that's what you're doing right now, dude. You're freaking whining and crying.
Wow.
Just freaking shut up and let people talk.
Dude.
That's what would make things better.
Dude, I wish we were in a locker room right now.
Step back and let people talk for a little bit. You can criticize them.
Yeah.
But if they can't talk, then you have nothing to criticize them about.
Right. But I guess you haven't been around locker rooms long enough to know you shouldn't be talking that way to people in a locker room.
Dude, I've been around locker
That's a
rooms
slip
my
and fall,
whole
homie.
life, and I know exactly how they work and how the politics of a
Yeah,
locker
well,
room
good.
works.
Good. Then you know not to
You're
be
gonna act
running
like
your mouth.
you're gonna act like
Yeah,
a little.
you know you don't have to run your mouth at people like
We're gonna
that. Then
freaking pick on you. That's all there is to it. That's just you just gotta suck it up. That's the way it
I
is.
wish a motherfucker would pick on me.
Well, apparently it's been
I
happening in your
wish a motherfucker would. You think that's picking on me? These guys are just showing their own ignorance. They're not picking on me. That's what I'm trying to tell you, dude. Are you paying attention, or are you just trying to act like you want to join their little locker room game? Oh, you're already a part of their locker room game, aren't you?
Dude, I'm the coach.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So you're just as stupid as them about the plasma universe and cosmology, aren't you?
Dude, we're not here to talk about the plasma universe. You
Well,
brought
that's the
that
whole
up
reason
at the
why people
beginning.
talk. Yeah, well then what the
You,
fuck?
you br- and you brought it up, and we said we're not following it. We're not here to talk about that.
Yeah, well, that's the whole issue. You asked why the social problem with what's his name? That's why, dude.
It gets so complicated when you're bringing up this guy said this. You're talking about this guy said this to this guy over here about this thing and all this evidence of just things that we're not even talking about. We're talking about like a really specific.
Well, it's about interesting topics, though, right?
Interesting to you and a lot of other people, I'm sure.
Really? It's not interesting to know know that black holes are actually just math. It's not interesting to know that plasma cosmology actually answers a lot of the questions that we have supposedly postulated as complete mysteries. You know, as far as what the need for dark matter is. What's
great? All this stuff is interesting. This hangout's supposed to be about the shape of the Earth and our observations, and he was coming in specifically to talk about what we had just got finished talking about and tell us what was something that was going wrong, or at least he perceived as going wrong.
Right, so and he missed on the first attempt. Remember, it's like you didn't hear him when he took his first shot at you, and he missed.
If I would have disagreed with what he was saying, then I would have told him.
I pointed it out that he missed. Right, big deal, right? I mean, so what? He missed, and now he gets another shot at it, acting like it's still his first shot, which is showing intellectual dishonesty immediately. So I call him out on that, and then all he can do is get mad about me interrupting him.
Hey, Mr. Graham.
So what?
Mr. Graham, can we move on? Can we please move on? Can we please move on to a different topic? Can we have George rejoin us if he's out there and you let him talk? Can we do that?
Oh, hell yeah, bro. Remember, we said that about 30 minutes ago. I would already have let him. Remember? We're good, dude, about that shit. That's why I keep asking you, why do we keep catering to that shit? He can do whatever he wants. I'm not going to block him from doing anything.
I just disagree with you, dude. That's all there is to it. And every time I disagree with you, you talk more.
Oh, I didn't realize you were disagreeing. What are you disagreeing with me about?
Well, just the whole way you're handling it. I mean, right now. That's what I'm disagreeing with. I mean, we've been talking about this for like, seriously, like 30 minutes or something ridiculous.
That's what I've been saying the whole time. Remember, that was the first thing I said. Why are we still talking about him?
Anyway, I got to get
to his wang.
I got to get up early in the morning, so I'm going to let you guys go. And
all right, Sally.
All right, Dandy. And thanks everybody in the chat. Hopefully we can get George back in here. I really like.
Yeah, sorry we weren't paying more attention to the chat. We'll have somebody watch that next time. You know, we'll have a designated chat watcher that can read comments from time to time.
Yeah, exactly. I dropped the ball on that one, but we'll make sure not to do that again. Thanks everybody in the chat. Appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by. See y'all next time.
Good night, guys.
Good night.